Welcome, everybody, to the SportsEthos Fantasy Basketball Industry Mock Draft. I am extraordinarily excited. We have a roster of heavy hitters, industry leaders, whatever you'd like to call it. Mount Rushmore faces, the folks gracing the side of the mountain of the fantasy basketball industry, Rick Kamla, Dr. A, yours truly, Aaron Brewski, and several special guests that we're going to be bringing in from time to time. We're on the clock. We're doing a mock draft here, and the first pick looks like it's even in. I'm not even sure that's true, but
it is.
It's true. You guys are never going to believe it, but somebody took a guy named Victor Wembanyama with the first overall pick. Are those fighting words for somebody in here?
Nah. I mean, I wish we had the number one pick. You and me, Brew. We would have taken Wemby, but it's okay. We're going to get a monster here with the second overall pick.
Yeah. And then I think we're going to probably argue about that a little bit. Maybe. We'll see. Rick and I are drafting on the same team, and we've got a huge roster of folks around the industry, and I'm going to get to that as soon as I have my list in front of me. But Rick, as my co-host here today, how you feeling about this draft? 9-cat head-to-head. This is your lane, not mine.
I mean, I'm not a turnovers guy, but okay, we're including the 9th category. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm used to it. We got a minute and a half on this clock right here, Bruce. So I think we need to dispense with salutations and make a pick here. Who are we taking in number 2? Jokic or Doncic? Who do you want?
I can't do Doncic. I just can't do it. I do have any inkling at all to go for Doncic, and we can argue about that.
I do. That would be my pick for the threes. And he's a little bit better with the stocks than Jokic, and we're going to get, 33, 9, and 9. But if you want to go Jokic, man, because I have a sort of peace offering for you. I have a way to balance out this, what's going to be a great partnership between you and I. So
you should take Giannis.
Listen to Doc just jumping in. Maybe we should take Giannis.
Nah, go ahead. He's just trying to mess us up. Go ahead and take Jokic, man. It's
no.
I
Look, I'm not going to draft Doncic anywhere, and I want to see where this heads. You're the man, Rick. Like 9-cat head to head.
Then we got to go get those threes, man. Jokic's three ball is broken. They both are flirt with triple double guys. And again, Doncic is going to give us more stocks. He'll be at maybe by a couple of tenths.
20 seconds.
All right, let's go ahead here. You okay with this, Brew? We're banging.
Pull the trigger.
Doncic
Let's go,
right.
Luka Doncic. Let's make Doc real mad. I don't know where he's drafting in this thing, but looks like he's at 5.
Titus is up. But Brew, getting those threes is huge, man. Luka's going to be 3.5 threes a game. Jokic is going to be at 0.8 threes. So I just think getting those threes is why Doncic is more enticing for me. But Brew, I owe you, man. I plan on deferring to you a lot here in this draft.
Oh man, well that's what I was planning on doing, is deferring to you. But we'll see. Right. We'll have to powwow on this thing and figure out how we're gonna do. We got
Team
Dan
Selfless.
Titus, Team Selfless. That's right. We got Dan Titus of Yahoo Fantasy Sports, and looks like he has selected Jokic. After that, it looks like Ryan Naus. I'm gonna have to make this screen a little bit bigger. My old man eyes can't read.
SGA.
Yeah, we got SGA for the great Ryan Naus. Knaus, pardon me. Ryan, you know I can't say a last name to save my life. And Ryan so gracefully joined us. And he does not write right now, but he's one of the best fantasy writers that ever lived. And it's good to have him back here in the draft. Looks like Doc, I don't know what noises are going on over there, but you're on the clock, buddy. In the vaunted 5 slot. It looks like the questions and the quotes are coming in. We got Neil Chabra. Cam, you're not concerned with Luka's 2-game week in the playoffs? Question mark. What do you say, Rick? Are you concerned?
I'm not concerned. I'll be honest with you guys. There's a couple of things that I don't worry about bye weeks when I'm doing an NFL draft for fantasy. I just draft. And if I have 2 quarterbacks, then I'll vet it throughout the season. And similarly with this, I'm not worried about something that's so distant in the future that we might not even qualify for if we don't get all of our picks together here. And so I'm not saying that Luka's like such a better pick than Jokic. He's just preferable to me and Brew because of the threes. Guys, Luka was at 4.1 threes last year, 4.1. The floor is 30 points and 3 threes. That's the floor.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I've written about how much I don't like the number 5 pick. So Andre made sure he gave me the number 5 pick. I wanted one of those first 4. Now the book says that it's Giannis. The book says it's Tyrese. I don't trust either one of those guys after last year. I especially don't trust the guy I'm taking, but I'm taking him, and I just hope that Rick Hamlin was not only right about him last year, but also this year. Hello, Anthony Davis.
Ooh, we got Anthony Davis. This 5 slot's something of a wonder this season. There's a lot of options at 5. None of them feel great, but Doc takes Anthony Davis with the 5 slot.
Doc, I hope AD does you right this year, dude, for taking that leap of faith right there.
And we're gonna say goodbye to Doc, and he'll return after the draft. But Doc, if you're sticking around, feel free to stick around. Doc, glad to have you here. We got more picks in. We've got Keston Paul of SportsEthos, who's one of the best blurb writers and one of the best analysts going. It looks like he has taken, my God, I got to get my computer screen bigger here. Old man central over here. I could do it like that. Beauteous. Okay, looks like Keston took Tyrese Halliburton, and that's at 6. And we got Poppy Roy, the great Poppy Roy. Shout out to Poppy Roy. We're going to have him on a show here pretty soon. Joel Embiid goes in the 7 slot, and then Jason Tatum for Matt Stroop of Roto World fame. Good to see you, Matt. Hope all's well. Hope to have you on the show sometime soon. Sloan Piva. Sloan, if I got that wrong, I know you sent an explanation in the chat the other day how to say your name. Again, I'm bad with names. Sloan takes Steph Curry. You can find his work at the Sporting News. And we got Thunder Dan Palio. You can find his work at Roto Baller. Dan Palio, one of the hardest working guys in the industry, one of my favorite dudes in the industry, just doing it the right way all the time. Excellent analysis. He's on the clock at 10. Rounding out our crew, we got Noah Rubin of Roto World and Mark Camaro of SportsEthos. We're going to have a show with Noah here pretty soon. And I don't know what, I get chat items here when I go full screen. That's great. Oh, well, thank you, Doc. It's Stroup. Worked with Matt for however many years. Can't pronounce his last name. It's just my thing, guys. You know, certain things I do well. Names ain't one of them. And I do apologize. That's on me as a broadcaster. Heavy air quotes there. I should know these things. Okay, so Rick, what do you think about the draft right now? We got Halliburton, Embiid, Tatum, Curry, and then Sabonis for Palio. What stands out to you out of those 5 picks?
When is Giannis going to go? This is outrageous. I thought he would have been a very good pick for Dr. A at number 5, to Keston at 6, or Poppy at 7, or Matt at 8, or Sloan at 9, or Thunder Dan at 10, who just took Domantas Sabonis. I mean, look, these are all amazing players, but I don't understand Giannis's 31, 11, and 6 combo with 1 and 1 in the blocks and steals. He's not a 3-baller. We know this, but he's very efficient. He does set you back a little bit in threes, but like we've talked about, Brew, the whole preseason, you can go get threes in the 7th round, the 8th round. You can get specialists late. We've got deep starting rosters here. So Giannis just went, but Giannis falling to 11 is a big surprise, and that's a big win for Noah Rubin to me.
Well, as a Roto guy, I'm always afraid of Giannis, but in a 9-cat head-to-head, if you're going to go Giannis, I mean, it makes perfect sense. And you get all those popcorn stats, and you get that great field goal percentage, and then you just got to deal with the known deficiencies, and that's what this is all about. Up is Mark Camaro of SportsEthos. Now, he's going to get the turn picks here, but we do 3rd round reversal here with this here draft. So he'll turn around and he'll pick first in the 3rd round, which really is the only way you can do it. If your fantasy league provider can't do that, that's bad for you guys because the valuations are the way that they are. That 3rd round reversal is so key. So Giannis, Sabonis, Curry. Curry's interesting there. I think Curry's got, the potential to have one of those kind of dream seasons if it all goes right in Golden State. What do you think about that, Rick? You think that's a possibility?
I do. I'm high on Steph. Steph is going to have to go off for Golden State to be in the play-in tournament, Brew. So I think we're going to get a big one from Steph Curry. If their theory on their team is true and they can get up to 48 wins, 49 wins, we're going to be looking at an MVP candidate here from Steph Curry. I think he's a long way from that because you got to have a good record to go with the great stats. I think he's going to have the great stats. But Brew, look, I like the fact that you've got a great player who is going to be engaged all the way through the season, because the games in March, the games in April are going to be colossal for Golden State, just like they were last year. Remember, they had to beat Houston and stay in front of them, and they did. So I think that's only going to be ratcheted up more this year with the West being thicker and more competitive. And it's going to bring out the best in Steph Curry. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that they've pieced that team together with a lot of connective players and a lot of just kind of eclectic players, and it seems like maybe, you know, the Draymond Green stuff will settle down a little bit. Maybe he's been humbled, and maybe they can just kind of get to the business of basketball. We wouldn't know it from his first press conference the other day, but maybe, just maybe, they're not good enough to where they have to come together and play. We start to see the best out of all these guys. A couple picks are in. We've got Trae Young and James Harden. Mark Camaro, first of all, does a great job with the dynasty coverage here at SportsEthos. We just did a show the other day. You guys got to listen to it. It is hard picking on the turns. You got to kind of take the guys you like, irrespective of where you think they should be taken in a perfect draft. Trae Young and James Harden on the turn. Rick, what do you think about these two picks on the turn here?
I'm into them. I'm a little surprised Anthony Edwards has not gone yet. I'll say that.
You're supposed to not say that until it's our turn, sir.
If Anthony Edwards makes it to us, that's
That's not great.
7 more picks. Like, I wouldn't think that's going to happen. But I'm a little bit surprised Ant-Man is still available.
I'm going to guess he's no longer available.
I would have preferred to have picked 12, and I would have taken Trae and Ant.
That would have been a great combo of players to take there. Also, Scotty Barnes. We have Donovan Mitchell for Noah Rubin. And Mitchell, to me, is really an interesting pick this season because he hasn't had a lot of games played, but he just kind of got settled in Cleveland. Do you think, Rick, this is the year that he can give you 75 games?
Yeah, I do. I'm high on Donovan Mitchell. I love where he was picked right here. Donovan Mitchell's fantasy gold, baby. He's at least 3.5 threes. He's at least a steal and a half per game. He's got one of the best block, steal, and three ratios in the league. And so I'm always excited about Donovan Mitchell. He's a 25, 5, and 5 guy. All the talk about them boosting Evan Mobley's usage rate and shots, which I hope happens. But guess what? It's not going to eat into Donovan Mitchell at all. It's going to eat into Jared Allen. It's going to eat into Darius Garland if, in fact, it happens. So I'm very high on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, we got a couple more picks in. So Scotty Barnes, Kevin Durant, Chet Holmgren, and then Karl Anthony Towns making an appearance in the second round. Now that the big trade has happened, we've covered the trade in detail, but do you like Karl Towns at this, what's that? Looks like 17 or 18, 19? Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, again, it's over Ant-Man, who I just see an absolute explosion from. But with Cat, I like the pick because I'm kind of looking at some of the dudes available here. I'm fine with it because I think we're going to get the return of Cat. He's going to be back to a 2010 guy playing in the hole. The rebounds are going to bounce back for him. He's going to get back to blocking some shots. And hopefully he hasn't grown a little bit apathetic and kind of lazy with that. And hopefully the Knicks at the 5, okay, not Gobert there, but him there, he can get a block and a half per game. And then, get you close to 2.5 threes per game. So, yeah, I'm okay with Towns as a mid-second round pick now that he's
looky here.
Or what are we doing, everybody? We're just going to let Doc win? Like, this is 30 deep all over again when we just let Doc have all the good players?
The eighth pick of the second round, I'm going to get a guy that I would have taken at the end of round 1. So, sign me up for both Ants. My team name is Adam and the Ants.
Ooh, I like that. Real quick on Karl Towns, catching that Knicks game the other day, they were definitely running everything that Cat likes to run. A lot of pick and pop, a lot of just dribble handoff action. They would run it first with Jalen Brunson, and then they would turn around and run it at the elbow with Mikal Bridges. So it definitely looks like it's all Cat all day long there. And Edwards, man, I don't even know if there's anything to say about that other than congratulations, Doc. your team looks quite good.
Well,
Come on.
it's all in the hands of Anthony Davis.
It is in the hands of Anthony Davis. The whole world is in his hands. Okay, Doc, we're going to cut you loose, and we're actually going to bring in Noah Rubin of Roto World. And first of all, I'm so excited to meet you. We've kind of passed each other in the hallway, so to speak, but haven't had a chance to meet. Doc has nothing but the greatest things in the world to say about you and his time with you at Roto World. Welcome to the show. And so I guess right off the bat, how are you feeling about your team, sir?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to it. You guys have quite the stacked roster for this draft, so it should be a lot of fun. Competitive draft as well, with everybody trying to get their guys so far, so it's great. I'm pretty happy with it. I know Cameron was talking about Giannis, and I looked up as he was talking. I was like, oh wait, I'm on the clock, and Giannis is still there, because generally I'm happy taking Giannis at 5 in head-to-head leagues and leaning into a punt free throw. However, I didn't feel the need to do that, getting Donovan Mitchell to kind of even out some of the weaknesses of Giannis. So obviously Giannis isn't hitting threes or free throws, and Donovan Mitchell is going to give you a lot of those. They're both going to turn the ball over, but I don't really ever care about who turns the ball over when I'm drafting in fantasy. So I'm happy with the first 2 rounds.
Nice. And if you don't mind waiting, we'll talk with you a little bit more in detail here. It looks like we have a pick, Rick. Looks like we're up here. What do you see on the board that you like, sir? And when you get a chance, hit that mute button.
My bad on that. All right. So as I view it here, Brew, Ja Morant is in our scope. Alpi Şengün is in our scope. He's the best big available. Jalen Brunson, very safe pick. And LeBron James, who, still puts up huge numbers. He's the best shooter he's ever been. Pardon me. So I'm at LeBron, Brunson, Şengün, and Morant. Who twists your cigarette out of that deal?
That's an excellent reference, sir. I would like to set the internet on fire and go for Alpi Şengün. How do you feel about that? What do you think, sir? Can we do that?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
It's a little early though, right?
I don't. Let me look. It's really not. He's within the next 5 on ADP here on the Fantrax. Fantrax has it: LeBron, Kyrie, Brunson, Fox, Şengün. Morant to me is an enticing pick here. But if you want to balance out the small with a big and go Doncic and Şengün, I'm totally cool with that.
Hey, I'm okay. I don't know how much time we have on the clock, but I'm okay with Ja Morant. Like, don't care about the turnovers. He is going to be electric this season. Things are even thinning out a little bit. I also think they're going to push the pace in Memphis, and that might make something truly special for a player like him.
Let's go Morant.
Yeah. Let's. You know what? The internet can be mad at me later.
You're talking me into it, saying all this stuff. Let's cheer for our boy Morant, man. He's gonna have a good year.
Ja Morant's the pick, everybody. Ja Morant.
All right, done deal.
I love it. Okay, so Jacob
Brew,
Dunn.
You the man, Brew. You the man.
No, you the man. Jacob Dunn, jack of all trades, does NFL and NBA here at SportsEthos. Points league specialist. Also a great dude and knows his stuff. On the clock. And he gets 1 pick. Well, it looks like he made it. I don't know who it is, but and I gotta take the trash talk from Doc saying this is Cam's team, not Brew's team. I'll put my stamp on it.
It's completely untrue. You were stronger on Morant than I was.
Yeah, we just hashed this out in real time. We got Braun.
Completely untrue. Hey, he's just trying to get in our minds, man.
LeBron
he's competitive. He's just trying to get in our minds. It's all he's doing right now.
I would like to point out that I still have Luka Doncic on my team, Doc. Doncic. I got him on my team, Doc, in Cam Dynasty. You could get him at any time if you could put together a good offer, sir. Just letting you know. LeBron, though, Cam.
I like it.
Well, actually, no. Let me ask Noah. Noah, what do you think about LeBron this season? How do you feel about the idea that he could play a lot of games? Are you thinking that this is a season that he will play a lot of games? Where are you at with him?
I'm not super confident. He's not a guy that I'm really looking to draft in round 2. Obviously, comes a point if he slips to round 4, happy to take LeBron. At times in round 3 as well. But I think with JJ Redick there, that there's a chance that we see his games managed, his minutes managed, even his usage managed when he's on the floor where they're trying to defer to guys like D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Anthony Davis a little bit more, because the priority is having LeBron James healthy in April and May and June, not in November or December. So if they have to limit him and it hurts his numbers, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I honestly don't think they care.
Yeah, let me get a few more takes out of you. We'll stay in LA. How do you feel about Anthony Davis? Like, a lot of consensus seems to be building in the fantasy space out there that Anthony Davis is a good target after the first four. Are you on that boat? You adjacent to that boat? You off the boat?
Oof. I'm not fully on the boat, but I think adjacent to the boat is that's a fair way to describe it. He's not the guy that I would go at 5. Like I said earlier, Giannis would probably be the guy I would go at 5, but taking him at 6 or 7, I think is totally fine. We saw him play a ton of games last year and he's going to be really good. JJ Redick has talked a lot about wanting to get Anthony Davis more involved shooting threes. So I'm excited about what he can do. And obviously, like with a lot of the guys that have already been drafted, it comes with a big asterisk of can they stay healthy? But it's nothing we can control. And we saw him do it last year. So I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, well, let's move it to the Ja Morant pick. Would you have the stones to do Ja Morant that early?
Oof. No, but I think that's the beauty of fantasy basketball and category leagues is that normally I wouldn't say Ja Morant's a round 2 guy, but he fits well with Luka. So they do a lot of the same things minus the threes. When you're looking at the individual 9 categories, like not great free throw shooters, not a ton of defensive numbers, but you're getting a ton of points, rebounds, and assists out of both of them. So I think if you're building this team a certain way, those two fit really well, which can justify him being a round 2 guy, which again, it's the beauty of category leagues.
I'm getting told by our producer that somebody stole Shingun from us while we were speaking. Wait. Was that you, Noah? You stole him. You just stole him from us. How could you?
I apologize. I couldn't let him get all the way back to you guys at the end of round 3, but honestly, I needed to get a center within the first few rounds because to me, when you get to like round 5 or 6, I just don't love any of the center options. So I had to get somebody, and I do like Şengün a lot.
You know what's staring me in the face right now on the board is LaMelo Ball. I want to get your take here, Noah. So the great Dan Titus of Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Fantasy Sports, multi-tool writer over there, by the way. Lonzo Ball. So did you watch him by chance in yesterday's game?
I saw a few of the clips. I didn't watch the full game, but I saw that he looked really good, looked really healthy. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Did it move your ranking, so to speak?
Seeing that didn't, because I already liked him a good bit. And to me, just like with a number of these other guys, if they're playing a lot of games, then they're going to be really good. I think the main thing to me is he going to kind of take that maturity step and continuously wear ankle braces? I think there was a quote from drawing a blank on who the new head coach's name is, but he was saying that they're going to kind of take it game by game to see whether they feel like LaMelo needs to continue to wear ankle braces each game or not. So I'm hoping it's just more often than not, because with the amount of injuries that he's had to his ankles, like you have to take every precaution available with how the last 2 seasons have gone. And thank you, Andre, for adding in that it's Charles Lee that's the Hornets head coach.
The great Charles Lee. And ankle braces, man. It's funny, like you'd think this would just be a yes, but people hate them. You know, players, it takes their speed and their mobility and it keeps them from playing the way that they want to play. And by the way, speaking of the way they want to play, LaMelo chucked some hilarious threes. You know, the kind that he's known for is like a great pass to get an easy look. Hey, let me fling up a 3 on the next play. I love it. What about draft strategy here? Like, you know, as you're setting up your 9-cat team, what are you trying to accomplish just in general?
I think it just depends. Every single draft can end up being different, playing the board a little bit. So like I said, with Ja Morant, I wouldn't consider him a round 2 guy, but you're trying to build a team, not just get the best player available all the time. And sure, you can, and then try and make trades or moves later on to maybe lean into more of a punt strategy. But I think it's kind of hard to win in head-to-head leagues without at least punting 1 or 2 categories to try and be stronger in some others. So I think kind of keeping that in mind, I guess you need to like focus on 5 or 6 categories that you want to be super strong in, but there does need to be some sort of strategy other than I think this guy's going to be good, and we'll just see how the pieces fit together.
Yeah, just flinging it together doesn't work real well. Just sort of resetting the board here. After Ant Edwards, prior to that, we had Devin Booker, who's just proverbially going to go 20th in every fantasy league for the next 5 years. Anthony Edwards, then we have Lillard for Ryan Knaus. Titus, as mentioned, with LaMelo Ball, John Morant on our squad, LeBron after that. And then Paul George went to Camaro in that 3-1 slot. Şengün to you, Noah. Fred Van Vliet for Thunder Dan, quality pick there. Kyrie Irving. Let's stop there. Are you a Kyrie guy this year, Noah?
I mean, I'm not a Kyrie guy this year, but I'm not opposed to drafting Kyrie this year. I think I feel more confident in him this year than in past years. I think that the situation in Dallas just seems to be working really well for him. He seems to be handling media a lot better than he had in the past, and just he has been pretty available. So that's been exciting to see. Hopefully he can be healthier, even healthier, I guess. I don't know how confident I am that he gets to 75 games, but if we can get like a 65 game Kyrie season, he's always like a top 10 per game guy in 9-cat leagues because he's just good across the board. So
sure,
I'm happy with him in round 3 here. I think that was good value.
Awesome. So I'm going to bring Rick back in. So we're back on the clock. I hope you got your Fantrax app open, Rick.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope we don't anger the great Dr. A just by saying that name. What do we got? What are we looking at?
So I've got us condensed down to Brew, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think we got to go big here, and you tell me if you disagree, because DeJounte Murray's a good-looking small. Cade Cunningham's a good-looking small. I would love to get both of those guys, but going small, I think we should go big here. Again, bouncing an idea off you here. So the list of guys, if we go big: Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, Zion Williamson, who's PFC. Thank you, Fantrax. Earmuffs, Doc. Paulo Banchero as well. I think Paul is going to have an outstanding year. I think he's going to get up to 25 a game. I think he's going to go poof and puff his chest even more than he's been doing. But Brew, as you know, he does not bring blocks. So my mind is with Jaren Jackson Jr. right now. Where are you at?
Yeah, well, the blocks are basically what I'm thinking about as well. And if we don't go Jaren Jackson Jr., we're really, really stuck. Now, my question to you is, do you think that Jacob Dunn's going to pass these guys and we can turn around and get somebody on the turn?
I think JJJ is such a rare player that and then we got 2 picks here. I don't know. I personally am not huge on playing those games, Brew.
I see you getting a little nervous over there.
No, because I think he's a rare, unique player, man, and I think he's going to get back. Do you agree he's going to get back to blocking shots this year?
I think this is the greatest thing that could ever happen was more players joining him. And it's going to be a lot like 2 seasons ago. I like the fact that they're talking about getting up and down the floor. I think they're going to get their whatever back on in Memphis, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's go Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm doing it. Or you should do it.
You can do it, but I got it right here.
I don't have the app up. I'm working on that one.
I love it. All right, we're balanced now, Brew. We're balanced.
I love it. Okay, the great Jacob Dunn is now up for 2 picks in a row. But Noah, before I don't know how long we got you on here. We got a couple Jalen's that went in the middle of the 3rd round. Jalen Williams went to Keston Paul. Jalen Johnson went to Doc. Doc's got to be thrilled over there. What's up with let's go Jalen Johnson? Like, a lot of hype, tons of hype. Are you on board with the hype?
Absolutely. I love Jalen Johnson. I didn't expect a breakout last year, and obviously it was kind of a mini breakout because he was missing a ton of games, and it was, I guess, slightly delayed because they started Sadiq Bey for like 1 game and then brought Jalen Johnson in. But all the injuries limited it a little bit. But that's the only concern I have is he going to miss some games this year again? Like, is he fully healthy? But no, I love Jalen Johnson. I think having DeJounte gone, he'll kind of be this secondary playmaker that'll help them out a lot. So I'm excited about that situation in Atlanta, but I'll let you guys make your next pick.
Oh, yes, we're back on the clock, Rick. What you thinking now?
You tell me. You tell me.
When you said Paolo, I was just thinking of our build, and I'm thinking, I mean, the threes are light, but I mean, we're getting them from JJJ. Can we salvage the threes, or what are we doing with the threes?
I'm not. I'm
not worried about it.
I don't feel like I feel like we can get threes in some other spots and work on some specialists. I think Morant's going to get up to almost 2 threes per game. Luka's going to be at 3.5 or 4. JJ should be popping 2 threes a game. I think we're looking good in that category right now.
You want to pull the trigger on Paolo?
Positionally, we probably should go. Let me pull up SFs here. It's Leonard. We got 2 minutes. It's Leonard. It's Paulo. It's Butler. It's Brown. I don't hate a Jaylen Brown pick right here. And then it's guys that we wouldn't consider over Paulo. Let me go to PF. And this is all based on ADP. It's Kawhi. It's Mobley. It's Paulo. It's Zion. And then I want to check up because I don't want to say a name that I hope makes us back to us the next time. So to me, Brew, we're talking Mobley, Zion, and Paulo. That's where my head is at. Mobley is a PFC. Paulo is an SFPF. I don't really worry about SF. There's so many of those swingmen SGSFs. Like the PF is the thing, right? So Mobley, Zion, Paulo. Who are you feeling?
With this build, I just kind of like Paolo. It's not for the faint of heart. I know that, fantasy valuations are going to kind of laugh at that a little bit, but still, like, we don't know what we don't know with him. And in fact, in my projections, you said he could get to 20 field goals per game, possibly, maybe. I got him nuzzled up in there, like 18.5, 19 off the top of my head.
Nice.
It's going to be, you don't know how good this guy can be. And in this particular build, I just feel like he might make that, at least the popcorn stats just make him kind of unstoppable. All right, let's go, Paolo, baby. Let's do it.
Let's go. Oh, this team is sexy. This team is real. Dude, we got Luka, Ja, JJJ, and Paulo. Okay? Luka's Luka. Ja's going to pop. Paulo's going to pop. Paulo's entering his 3rd year, bro. Paulo is going to pop this year. This will be the best stats of his career so far. And then JJJ with the fantasy gold, baby. I'm loving this team.
Speaking of pops and plugs, you got to check out Rick Kamla's Pop Guys article at SportsEthos.com in the draft guide. It's quite good.
Thank you.
We got a comment over here. Noah getting Giannis at 11 might be the best pick so far, says Matt Carmody. So you're getting your flowers, Noah. We got Bane, DeJounte Murray. They go on the turn to Jacob. That's 2 quality players.
I love DeJounte.
What are you thinking right now?
I love DeJounte.
No,
how interesting, Brew, would that have made the decision if DeJounte was still there for the Paulo pick that we just made?
Oh, yeah. I mean, DeJounte, like, to me, the sky's the limit in the sense that, especially given the sourcing that you've brought to the show, Rick, that they really like him. And that's like a top 20 play right there, just sitting, waiting to happen. And to get him at, what's that, 37 for Jacob? I mean, he's just sitting on profit right there. So, I mean, that's real nice. Noah, sitting here in the 4th round, what's striking you about this draft so far? How are you approaching this 4th round?
I think there's a lot of guys that I don't even want to say a lot of guys. There's a handful of guys that I'd be happy to get with this at the turn here. And I don't want to say too many names out of fear that they'll end up getting drafted because that tends to happen when I say names out loud or add them to my queue. That's the other thing. I can't add players to my queue because they tend to get drafted a lot faster that way. But I do feel pretty good about some of the guys that are still available.
Do you step on the foul line when you're walking on a baseball field?
Or why would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, who would do that? Some crazy psycho out there? I don't know. We got Ryan Canales on. Okay, so Titus takes Evan Mobley. Canales is on the clock. Canales, 2-time 30-deep champion. He walked away from the game as a 2-time champion, said he'd accomplished everything he needed to accomplish in the world of sports. I'm making up some of that, Ryan. But I will say this: I hate drafting against Ryan because he always takes the right guy. We got a team here for yourself. No, so you got Giannis, Mitchell, and Şengün. Without naming names and without putting players into your queue, what do you think you need to do to round this team out?
I mean, I think I'll probably go a few more rounds before I start looking at, specific categories, just because there are so many guys that are still available that can do a lot of different things. And so I think what I kind of like to do is not really lean into any sort of strategy for a few rounds, like kind of slightly look for it maybe. Again, it just kind of depends. Each draft ends up being different, but I think I'll probably, with rounds like 5 through 8, try and get guys that are just strong in a few categories to balance it out, and then maybe some guys that can pop in one category in the later rounds. But right now, there's some heavy upside guys that I still like.
We could get you to just kind of meander for the next couple minutes. It'll be your pick anytime now, and you won't have to say anything about what you're thinking and about all those players that you're staring at in not the queue, but the listo players there. Derek White just came off the board. Bam Adebayo prior to that. How about we spin this into a Celtics take? Derek White obviously had an amazing season. What are you doing with all the Celtics players this season? I mean, they ran away from the East last year, and it turned into a March, April, every other guy resting every other game kind of a deal. Do you feel that the East has come back to where Boston is in terms of overall talent? And does that open the door for you to draft more Boston players? Or are you even thinking about any of that at all?
I don't think that's something I really take into consideration, just because it could happen with a lot of different teams, whether it's they're just so good that they're resting guys, or they're just so not good that they're resting guys, or guys are injured. So with Boston, yeah, they had a massive lead in the standings late last year, and we had a bunch of guys getting rested, but they were still really, really good for most of the year. Like, I don't think anybody would have been upset drafting Derek White last year, even though there was a few games down the stretch. So maybe that's something that you take into consideration in December or January when you're trying to make some trades. Like, I always struggle to make trades in 1-year leagues. It's much easier in Dynasty. But if you're like, hey, this guy's playing really well and I'm doing well in my standings, but I obviously want to win a championship, and the Celtics have a massive lead, there's a chance they rest guys again. Let me try and trade Derek White or Jaylen Brown or someone else to a team that's struggling a little bit more, needs some help right now, just for a chance to even make the playoffs. So maybe you take that angle a little bit, but I don't think it would impact my decision to draft them, because they are all really good.
Oh yeah, they're really good. And Kristaps is probably the only guy that's completely off the board for most folks. It looks like Keston's just taking his sweet time, just letting that clock tick tock, tick tock. And there it is. Miles Turner's off the board. See, I think I made it happen there. I willed that thing into existence. Poppy Roy's up. I see Poppy Roy back in the studio in the back. Shout out Poppy Roy. Okay, so Cade Cunningham goes off the board for Poppy. Matt Straub is on the board. Then Sloan, then Thunder Dan, and then Noah, you got 4 picks. I got a question for you. What was it like working with Doc A?
Man, Doc's such like a fun guy. I mean, I didn't work a ton of shifts with him, because when we were there at the same time, I was working a lot of mornings by myself, but always enjoy doing shows with Doc. You don't ever have, I guess, as much fun doing shows or just talking with many other people when you're doing podcasts, but you always have fun with Doc, and it's easy to go back and forth doing jokes. He had Doc mentioned doing a show. I drove to his house and we did one from his house. So that was fun. That was an interesting episode, but always fun.
Did he take you down to Johnny B's?
Oh, I was at Johnny B's, not before Doc, but I was at Johnny B's on my own, because that's actually where I went to school. So, but yes, I have been to Johnny B's with Doc.
Okay. Did you play the Golden Tee? Because Doc's quite the legend down there with the Golden Tee.
I watched him play the Golden Tee. I didn't participate. He had already had a game going, so
they didn't want to interrupt his flow.
I didn't want to lose my money.
Yeah, I bet this is like a heavy gambling scene, and Doc's just taking people's money. Like, I've never played before in my life. Want to play some Golden Tee? Okay, Jamal Murray's off the board, Sloan's up, and then Dan Palio after that. And then you've got to turn around, Noah, and take basically 2 picks. So what about drafting on the turn? You got any advice for the folks that might not have played as much out there? Like what you kind of do on the turn?
Yeah, I think because, I mean, the main thing to me is that you're going to be waiting about 20-ish more picks before you pick again. So don't be afraid to reach a little bit. I'm sure you guys are kind of doing the same thing on the other end of the draft, but it's, if there's a guy that there's no chance they make it back around to me, but it's a reach, quote unquote, by about 10 or 15 picks, like I'd rather take the chance and get the guy that I believe in than just try and go for value based off ADP data. Because I don't know, to me, if you're playing fantasy leagues, you're testing your knowledge or your belief in certain players against everyone else you're competing against. So why would you just go based off ADP data when you can go based off what you know? So go get your guy. I know Doc's very good at that.
Oh yeah, that advice won me a lot of money in football. Back when I was at Roto-World myself, I was going into this like kind of finals of a long season-long contest. The top 8 went to Vegas, and he just says, "Go with your gut, number 1, and 2, take the player that you think is the best player." And in a playoff format, that was Larry Fitzgerald. The year he just went bonkers in the playoffs, and now a wing of my house is named after Larry Fitzgerald. Thank you, Larry, for everything you've done for me and my family. What about your favorite pick of this draft? What do you think?
I mean,
I'll ask you right as you have to make your picks.
Not to, just toot my own horn, but I did really love getting Giannis at pick 11. But outside of that, honestly, I love you guys getting Jaren Jackson in late round 3, because I had 3 players in my queue and I took Şengün, and Jaren Jackson was one of them. I didn't expect him to get all the way back around to me, but getting him in the late 3rd round, I think he's going to be like he was 2 years ago. Now that Ja's back, the rest of the team's healthy. He's going to get close to 3 blocks, a bunch of threes. I mean, we saw him in a larger offensive role last year, so maybe that helps him a little bit this year as well. So my expectations for him are very high this year.
We need to publish the private chat, that's for sure. There's all sorts of you give Doc some meds. I don't know what meds they got you on, Doc, but things are getting funny in that chat. Okay, so it looks like you took Zion. Zion, kind of a little bit radioactive in fantasy leagues because of the obvious, but what about Zion makes you excited to draft him this season?
Yeah, I know earlier I said I was going to try and balance out the free throw percentage and lack of threes thing with Donovan Mitchell. And then I got Şengün and Zion. And now I'm kind of like, I think I might, if this were a real league, I'd be looking to potentially trade Donovan Mitchell for somebody that fits this team a little bit better. Because right now I've got some high field goal percentage, low free throw percentage, no threes guys. And Donovan Mitchell doesn't really fit in with that. But I think it's pairing Zion with Giannis and then Şengün to I guess lesser extent. I think that's kind of what I like.
Now, you're going to have a pick here pretty soon after Mark goes on the turn. We're going to bring in Rick here because Andre just likes to stir the pot. For those of you who don't know, Andre Lemouche, got your name completely wrong, sir. He just likes to stir the pot. He's our producer extraordinaire and does so much here at SportsEthos. We all love him to death. But he loves to stir the pot. Yeah, you are here, Andre. We all see you in that chat. What are your thoughts, Camel? Andre wants me to ask you about Noah's draft so far. And could you just tear him apart, please?
Please.
Okay. You mean Noah, the guy that drafted Giannis at 11? No, I'm not going to tear apart his draft. I absolutely love his draft. What can I say? I mean, we were considering Zion a full round ago, basically, when we nabbed JJJ. Zion, at least for me, Brew, he was very much in my thought process for that pick. The lack of fantasy gold is a problem, okay? He's not a block steal guy. He's not a 3 guy, but he's not dead to me, okay? I think his PRA is going to be massive this year, and I really think it is one of my pop year guys in the draft guide here. So big fan of Zion Williamson with the 11th pick in the 4th round. Holy cow, what a steal. He's got Şengün, he's got Giannis, and he's got Mitchell. And Noah, I would just beg to differ with you here. I think Donovan Mitchell's a perfect fit with this team. because you're not going to obviously go to war without threes and without steals, right? I mean, you're going to try to. So I like the fact that he's really good in those areas, and maybe these other guys kind of aren't a little bit. And I see Noah banging a lot of guards here in the next couple of picks to try to balance this out. But I think it's very important to start. We didn't broom, because Doncic was there and Ja was there, and then we went big. But I think it's very important to be nabbing bigs here in these first 5 rounds, and I think Noah's done a great job of that.
And I would add that steals, like to your point, Rick, that steals with Şengün, he's not bad at steals. Zion is better at steals than he is blocks. So you got Giannis, you got Mitchell. I think that you can fashion those 2 categories, which have a lot of variance from week to week as well. So you do want to have a punt or a pole in the water, so to speak. Okay. So it looks like we have done something to the screen. I don't know what the heck's happened with the screen.
Jarrett Allen and Jalen Duren just went bang, bang.
Jarrett Allen and Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren was a huge B150 guy last season, and then all the ankle stuff happened, and he had that really big start, like top 30 start. Noah, what do you think about Jalen Duren this year?
I think this year I like him. I think just the fact that you can get a guy that is probably going to be among the league leaders in rebounds, I do like him. I think I have a few more concerns long term with his defensive ability, because he had a good block rate in college, but hasn't shown that in the NBA. And outside of just the category like stats that we like for fantasy, like he's just not very good defensively. Now, does that mean Isaiah Stewart is going to eat up a ton of minutes from him? Probably not. But I think that's why I'm a little bit more hesitant long term. But for this year, love it.
Yeah, I wonder, the block rate thing is crazy, right? Like he just fell off the face of the earth with blocks, and a man his size should probably get a block every once in a while. And you do have a new coach in town, and the Monty Williams coaching experience, it's way more nuanced than I'm about to say, but he's an old school guy, and he's probably not down with flying around and blocking shots at the expense of getting boards and being out of position. Are you looking at that at all with Jalen Duren? Like maybe, just maybe, that was a schematic thing and he does got blocks in him, because that would change everything, right?
It would. And I think that if there is a coach that can get it out of him, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic this year. But I still just, I don't know. I'm not expecting him to improve the blocks this year. If it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, then I'm not drafting him for that anyway. I'm getting the rebounds, the high field goal percentage, and the really good free throw percentage for a big.
Yeah, it's a size thing. I mean, he's really large, and then that lateral quickness is now, kind of front and center. And it's really strange, for a guy that didn't have a lot of touch, he developed some touch from the foul line. Looks like he's really working on that 18-foot game. And I'm like, no, man, get down there and bang and block shots and have a high field goal percentage and stop with this finesse stuff. You're 19 years old and the biggest man in the league already. Come on, man. Anyway, I digress. Looks like you took Emmanuel Quickly. He's been a pretty hot commodity in fantasy drafts so far. So what do you think is going to happen with Quickly this season? Is this sort of a set it and forget it kind of pick? He's just going to get you the value that you draft him for? Or do you think he's got that upside packed in there?
Oh, I think he's got a ton of upside. I think he showed us a lot after he was traded to the Raptors, and then more so down the stretch of the season where he had I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but there was a nice stretch towards the end of last season where he was incredible for fantasy, like ton of points, ton of threes, ton of assists, steals. So I'm expecting him, after kind of having the offseason to learn how to play with everybody. Now he's officially the starting point guard. I'm expecting big things. I mean, it'll be maybe not quite as good as that elite stretch down the end of last year, because Scotty Barnes is fully healthy and this whole team is healthy. But I think we see a big breakout from Emmanuel Quickly. It may not be quite as good as his Kentucky teammate Tyrese Maxey, but I think that size of a breakout, I think we can expect it.
It's pretty insane that the two of them have pretty similar games. I think they might be like top 5 shooters in the league. I don't know. Let's bring in Rick. How do you feel about Quickly and his shooting stroke and his ability to work the pick and roll? Is this a guy that's going to be a major problem in the NBA, or is he a little bit closer to the pack than that?
No, I love him. I think his numbers are going to be fantastic, and I thought it was a really good pick by Noah. He was on my list a round ago, so quickly to me fell a little bit here, and I just think Noah's getting great value with all these picks. Şengün's a value pick. Giannis was a major value pick. I thought Zion was a major value pick. Quick is at 5'2", come on, Emmanuel Quickly is going to be around 25 and 5. Could get up to like 7 assists per game. The steals are going to be light, could be about a 2.5, 3 per game guy. I think he's terrific. I do worry about a shutdown with Toronto players. We saw it last year, and they're in a deep rebuild here. So, what Noah and anybody drafting Raptors needs to happen is for the Raptors to be in the play-in tournament race. All right, because then maybe you don't pull the plug on that to go get your Cooper Flag on. Maybe you're like, all right, we got a shot to make the play-in tournament. So, short of that, though, Quickly may miss the last 15 to 20 games. So when you take a net, a guy on the Jazz, you take guys on these teams, you've got to kind of pre-plan for that potential shutdown. But I love the pick.
Shout out to the hundreds of people watching online. It's nice to have you guys. Check out SportsEthos.com. Check out all of this roster of writers. We sent out a tweet from Ethos Fantasy NBA. Go ahead and follow each and every single one of them. They are the cream of the crop in the industry. They're doing great work out there. And we love them to death, and we thank them for being on the show. Dan Titus is up, and then we're up, Rick, right after that. So what do we got? What are we looking at on this board here? I'm relying on you. You're my eyes and my ears. And I'm going to ask you to take that mute button off, sir, because I can't hear any of that beautiful analysis.
I'm so sorry.
All good.
So, I'm kind of like creating clusters for us to pick from here. I don't want to name names because Titus could be listening here. And there's a guy that I have some pretty. I wanted Gobert, Brew, or for us to have a conversation about Gobert. I wanted for us to have a conversation about Siakam. And he was a guy that I mentioned maybe a round ago. He almost made it back to us. I mean, Siakam, dude, at 5'9", giving you 20 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 1-1, 1-1-1, basically, if you round up and round down. I thought that was an awesome pick by Ryan Canals.
Yeah. Oh, and that just went off the board. Oh, yeah. Siakam off the board, Franz Wagner off the board, Nick Claxton off the board, Garland, and Gobert. So what do we have left? We can't say it. We're not saying it until Titus picks.
You can't say it. Can't say it. I don't even want to give a positional hint here. So we, look, I think, honestly, I think Franz Wagner's a little overdrafted. I know Doc is going to hate me for this. I'm not a huge Franz Wagner guy. He's going to be around 20, around 5 rebounds, around 3 assists. He's very light in the threes, the blocks, and the steals. And I'm not like picking out that pick to target Doc. He's my boy. But I'm just not a huge Franz Wagner guy in fantasy, man. I'm not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's hard when he's not hitting the deep shot right now. And it's been a bit. And you would think that would be the thing that you would see him fix heading into this season. And shooting's interesting. You can't will that thing into the hoop. You got to have a combo of technique and then also sort of confidence. And you just got to you just look at this. I love this, Rick. I love it. Rick's so excited.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, now can you speak, Rick? What do we got? What are we working with?
My man just took Tobias Harris. Wow. You want to talk about the shutdown? I am super worried about Tobias Harris being shut down. If his stats hold up for 75 games, I'm okay with the pick, but who cares? Here's the guys I have listed for us. Actually, I don't want to mention him because he may be kind of for stash for it. All right, the guy that I think, Brew, that I want you to really kick the tires on here is Julius Randle.
Wow, you're asking me for a leap, sir. But I'm listening. I'll always listen. And
so are you not a Julius Randle guy?
Not a Julius Randle guy, but maybe in this situation I could be, because we have a dominant looking team in the popcorn stats, points, rebounds, and assists. That's Julius Randle in a nutshell. But what else you got?
So I think that there's so many guards, Brew, that are going to be enticing for us. I think we got to look. We've got a PFC, we've got an SFPF. I think we need to, Paula's our SF. We should get a PF, and then Jaren Jackson Jr. is our 5. So that's kind of why I think Randall would be a good pick for us. Mikal Bridges is power forward eligible. He's very much on the radar as I see it. I've got a couple of other guys that I don't want to bring up now, Brew, for the years listening. But here's the best ADP. We got 1:15 left. All right. At shooting guard, it's Mikal Bridges, and it's not even close. At small forward, it's Mikal Bridges, Miles Bridges, and then it kind of falls off the table. So kind of a Mikal, and then power forward, it's Mikal Bridges, Julius Randle, Miles Bridges. And it's center, like all the guys just went. So to me, Brew, it's Julius Randle or Mikal Bridges. That would be the pick here.
I like Randall's fit better with our team. I probably like Bridges better as a pick overall. But I'll say this. I've been a Bridges guy forever, like literally every single year, it feels like, in the league. I think he looks a little slow this year, and I don't know what's going on with that. And I don't know if I don't want to hold it against him. It's the first game of the preseason, but he looks a little slow to me, and I don't like that because I'm a Mikal Bridges guy. 20 seconds to go. Julius Randle, me, please.
Julius Randle, this team is so sexy.
Honestly, look, I don't like the trade. I don't like that Minnesota did it. I don't think Julius Randle's gonna kind of work there, but I do think that that now that they've moved Cat out, they're going to rely on Randle. It's going to be balanced. It's going to be balanced. I'll say that lightly, but he's going to get the perfect amount of touches, I think. And it might actually flatten out his game and get a little bit more efficient. Maybe he's been humbled a little bit by the experience, and he'll play super hard, and he'll get a few extra defensive stats for us. I don't know. We got Vucevic, who just went on the turn. How's Jacob going to do us?
Yes.
Josh Giddey.
Yes.
The excitement with Mr. Kamla is off the charts.
Woo!
We'll make our pick, and then I want to say goodbye to Ruben. And I don't know who our next expert is in the lineup. Maybe Andre, you let me know so I can start prepping that up. What are we looking at here, sir?
Mikal, we don't have an SG yet, Brew. We've got 2 point guards. We've now got our big spots full, and I think we've got option. We've returned to a situation of optionality here. We can go big or small in between. I don't think that there's a huge need for assists here with Luka and Ja. Paulo's going to be at 5. Randall's going to be at 5. So I just think we just get a solid dude here. Mikal Bridges to me makes sense. He is the best SG on the board. Then it's Vassell. We're not taking him. I'm not a Brandon Ingram guy. Then it's a guy I don't want to mention. Then it's Bradley Beal, Anthony Simons, Cam Thomas, Kobe White. Okay. Not sure what that was all about. I think that was a Kamla shut up noise right there. But I think
it's Bridges. I mean, look, it's not sexy in a 9-cat head-to-head league.
I think with Dante and Randall being traded, I think Bridges is going to score the heck out of the ball now.
Look, that first game thing, it either matters or it doesn't. It's really interesting. Like, these guys that are vets, they show up a little out of shape. They play their way into shape. It is what it is. I'm not so worried about Bridges. I really am not. And also, he could trip and fall and beat this valuation. He will beat this draft slot. He will just
good point. And he's your guy.
He is my guy. We're thick and thin.
Your guy.
Me and Mikal.
Dude,
let's make that pick. Let's make that pick.
This team is nails, bro. This team is freaking nails, man.
We should play this thing out. Okay, so up is Dan Titus, and ears ringing from the Rick Kamla analysis, I might add. I believe we have Titus on the show. He can defend his honor in a little bit. While that's all happening, Noah, what are you thinking now? You got a few picks to go. You add quickly to your roster. Like, what do you think as a general, without giving up the goods, is a general kind of archetype for what you're looking to do here?
I think I hate round 6 through 8. So a lot of the guys that tend to go in this range, I never feel happy making these picks. It's just kind of like, I guess I'll go with this guy. So I think I can just go ahead and guarantee that for you, that whoever I pick in round 6 and 7, probably here on this turn, I'm not going to be happy about it.
What is it about it that's irking you in this stage of the draft? Is it risk? Is it lack of pop?
Man, I think it's just that a lot of the guys that per the ADP data are just guys that I'm not super high on. There's like 1 or 2 that I feel pretty good about, but I don't know. I think there's just, as we get later in the draft, there's more guys that I'm excited about. Maybe I should just learn to just start reaching by a few rounds according to ADP data, as opposed to trying getting somebody in that range, which would be really just following my own advice that I provided earlier. So there's a couple guys that I'm hoping make it around me. I really don't need any more.
There's questions going on.
But
there's questions going on in the chat if we want to play this out. And a certain somebody, I'm not going to say his name, Rick Campbell, is just like heckling people to play this thing out.
I'm all about that action, boss. I'm trying to draft a team and then not play with it, man. Like we're putting our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. This is our baby that we're creating right here, Brew. I want to play this out and beat all these dudes.
We got an invitational that we're going to be rolling out here in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it's private chat. I don't know. I just assume everything's public. That's a great assumption to have in life, that it's all public. Okay,
that's fair.
Like just assume it's public. All right. But we're gonna do an invitational, and there'll be a prize for charity, and there'll be a cash prize for that league. I'm wondering if we can get these guys, all 12 of them, to assent to playing this out. I'm gonna have to, Rick, you handle the heckling in the private chat, and I'll just heckle them publicly. No, are you gonna play this out? You can't say no on camera, can you?
I mean, I think I can say no on camera. I feel pretty comfortable saying no on camera. I apologize if it bursts anybody's bubble. Maybe you can find somebody else that really likes this team I drafted.
In the bubble right off the bat. I love it.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize. I'm a freelance writer. I can't just add a bunch of random leagues, but
oh, that sound is Rick crying.
No, I try to twist any arms around here, man. It's all good. If people don't want to play, they don't want to play. There will be plenty of action for me in this great fantasy basketball space. But bro, I'm just saying, I would like an opportunity to prove the domination ability of the team that we're building right here. But okay, it's not in the cards.
I am.
You guys can run my team.
I just think there's going to be.
Well, you putting me on the spot?
I think there's going to be a lot of resistance.
I have the right to say no too.
Yeah.
let me read some picks out here. We got some action here on the board. So I don't think I hit that we were seeing. Let's see, we had Gobert, Garland, Claxton, Franz Wagner, Siakam, Tobias Harris, Julius Randle, Vucevic, and then back on the turn from Jacob was Giggity, Mikal Bridges, Titus with Miles Bridges, and then Mark Williams, Canals, swinging for the fences. I love it. And then Hartenstein for Doc A. Brooke Lopez, who's going to beat his rank until he's in the grave. Brandon Miller. And Brandon Miller, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season. I was looking at it. It's like, in the game yesterday, and he's just so tall. It's like, man, a guy that tall doing those things, he could really bust loose, but maybe a little capped upside with what's going on there in Shaw. And then Matt Stroup is on the board right now. He takes old Keegan Murray of my stomping grounds in Sacramento. Keegan, I love him to death. They got a lot of players in Sacramento, but I love Keegan Murray to death. Sloan Paiva. Please don't murder me, Sloan, if I'm getting that wrong. I know you explained it to us. It's either this way or that way. I'm going 50-50 with Paiva. Actually, no, you explained it. I think it's Piva. Oh, boy. Anthony Simons off the board. Is it Paiva?
I think it's Paiva because I remember.
Didn't he say it's not sativa?
I thought he said it was like saliva. Maybe I read it wrong when he
maybe
said
I read it. Maybe
message.
I saw a word that I thought I saw was sativa instead of saliva. So, oh, boy. These things are all happening out in the public, aren't they? DeAndre Ayton off the board for Thunder Dan. And now, Noah, you're up, and then you're going to be out of here after this, and then we'll have you on another show here. while you're thinking about your pick, everybody follow Noah Rubin on Twitter. It's Noah Rubin, RUBIN 22 on Twitter, and all the excellent work that he's doing for the industry out there. Oh, tomorrow. You'll be on the show tomorrow.
Yes.
Just letting you and everybody else and myself know as he selects Bradley Beal. Oh, Bradley Beal, how you hurt me last year. But here we are. We're at 5.11, or pardon me, 6.11. So like right around 70 there. Talk to us about Bradley Beal, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, I was expecting Bradley Beal to be better last year than he obviously was. That was incredibly disappointing, but he was much better down the stretch when he was like actually healthy, which I think helped a little bit. So I think another offseason to get healthy, learn how to play with this team, then adding in Coach Bud, I think that helps him get up some more threes, which I think will be pretty good for his fantasy value. So I'm expecting a bounce back year from Bradley Beal.
At least one of his injuries, and I was very invested in like 5 teams that Bradley Beal just sort of fell. And it was like, how could you not do this? And then all of it just started falling apart. But at least one of the injuries was completely bad luck. It wasn't just Bradley Beal being Bradley Beal. A guy slid underneath his feet, and it really ruined the momentum of his season. So I think he's catching a little unnecessary heat out there. But that's going to do it, my man. Any last words for the crowd on your way out?
No, other than thank you guys so much for having me on this. This was a blast, and I'm looking forward to the next show.
Rick, you want to twist any elbows on your way out the door?
No, you're good, man. You're good. I love your team. And
Awesome.
it will help people with their drafting, and that's what we're here for, man. Noah, we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You guys will like this next pick.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Noah Rubin. You can find his work at RotoWorld. And next, we're bringing in Poppy Roy all the way from the Philippines, and the great people of the Philippines, as we all know, are amazing basketball fans. I'm like literally underselling that, everybody. It's the best fan base in the world, practically. And Poppy, you're muted, so we'll need you to unmute yourself. And welcome to the show. Thank you. Tell everybody who you are and where they can find your work and what you're up to.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I kind of like is trailblazing the community here in the Philippines. So we're a little bit getting stronger every year. So currently we have several initiatives, and we're trying to organize several rankings for our own community. So imagine the Yahoo rankings and all. We created something like that for the whole community, and then just putting contents as much as I can every time I have free time.
That's awesome. And shout out to everybody in the Philippines. What are your thoughts so far about the draft? Like, what's striking you about what's going on in here?
Yeah, so there's a lot of value actually happening. You already mentioned how Noah Rubin kind of like had a value pick over Giannis Antetokounmpo. I noticed that we're kind of like getting our guys initially, which is fun. We're not really sticking.
It looks like the internet got the best of Poppy there. We'll get Poppy back on in a second here. But I will point out that on his way out the door, Noah grabbed Jordan Poole, and I really wish he was live so we could hear his thoughts on Jordan Poole. Report that he's going to be on the ball. Doc, he's tapping his arm. He's out there in the bullpen. He's calling his own number. He wants back in. The great Doc A is going to join the show here. And let me just recap what we got going on here, though, because we do have, it's really interesting. We got Michael Porter Jr. on the turn for Mark Camaro, OG Anunoby right behind him. And Anunoby's an interesting one because he just got sort of freed. And that's going to definitely help his fantasy value. And I'm wondering how that shapes his ADP in the marketplace. Looks like we got Poppy heading back into the studio. So whenever he gets brought back in, we'll bring him back in. Trey Murphy, it's a hamstring injury for Murphy. If I'm not mistaken, is that a hamstring? I'm going to get my injuries mixed up.
That's correct. Hamstring strain reevaluated in 3 weeks, and I don't like how that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, with Murphy, I mean, it's kind of like here we go again. And last season, taking the front end off of it with a knee injury, now this hamstring injury, 3 weeks. Um, I look at it as an opportunity for New Orleans to really showcase Brandon Ingram for a trade. What about you, Rick? Are you hearing anything on the Brandon Ingram front? I mean, I know you got sources everywhere. Bring us the sourced information that nobody else can get.
Yeah, I don't have that right now. I mean, you guys all know the story. Brandon Ingram thinks he's a max player. The New Orleans Pelicans do not, and they have not come to an agreement. And I don't think they will. I think this is going to play out where Brandon Ingram is traded in advance of the deadline. And if you're New Orleans, hopefully you can get back the appropriate amount for him. But if you can't, what you have in your back pocket is the fact that you went Herschel Walker trade on the Atlanta Hawks, getting DeJounte Murray for 3 reserves and a couple of picks. It's one of the greatest NBA heists of all time. So even if you don't fully max out what you think you should get for Brandon Ingram, you got to move him. So I think he'll be moved at some point this season. I really do. But he's a guy that doesn't fight through injuries, so he's just off my list.
Yeah. The dislike for Brandon Ingram, it's well known. It's amongst the community as well. You got Poppy Roy. You back in, Poppy?
Yes, can you hear
We're
me?
locked back in. That's beautiful. So,
There you go.
okay, on the board, looks like after Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, Kobe White, and then I'm looking at Jabari Smith out in Houston. Looks like you're on the clock. What are you thinking about with your team here? Looks like you took Zubac. What was the thought process? Not just for Zubac. You got Joel Embiid. Let's start there. Joel Embiid.
Yeah, so
What's the thought process there? Is it just F it? Like we're
yeah,
just gonna do this? Like what's the thought process?
I kind of like I am trying actually to create a strategy on how to lessen the risk of Joel Embiid. As you can see, what I did here, I picked Joel Embiid and then followed up with a good big. So just in case, whatever happens, if he rests or whatnot. And then also followed by another sixer just to get that usage handcuff for the lack of birds. So just I'm pretty hopefully he won't get injured, but I'm pretty sure he'll get managed. We're not sure if it's going to be minutes being less, if it's games, but nonetheless, I can see that maybe this team could survive. Hopefully later I could get some additional biff. That's the reason why I wanted to get other players in this round, but I thought maybe Zubac won't come back, and I needed to beef up the bigs just to support Embiid. So now I have Carl Anthony Towns, which I think is going to climb up the ranking as we go and start the season, and then also Zubac to be one of the possibly, I don't know, it's gonna be fun this year with James Harden playing alongside him without possibly Kawhi. I'm seeing the old school James Harden slash, I don't know, Dwight Howard or Clint Capella.
Let me ask you this. You got a lot of buzzy guys on your team. You Karl Anthony Towns. Was this a comfortable place to draft him? Was this just something that, you said, look, I'm not going to be drafting. I mean, he's not going to come back to me, so I might as well take the guy I like. How do you feel taking Towns at, we got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 18, I believe. 18 for Karl Anthony Towns. You feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, so my thought thinking is, aside from the strategy to really back up Embiid immediately with a wig that could have the same value, I just think Carl Anthony Towns got a little bit closer to possibly get a shot to be a first rounder again. So I'm kind of like thinking under Tibbs, possibly more minutes, could get more rebounds, and maybe the blocks comes back again. Maybe not too big, but maybe it gets added. And without Julius Randle, aside from Jalen Brunson, someone needs to score. So it's going to be either him or Mikal Bridges. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then I'm going to get to your Cade Cunningham pick here in a second, but just to update the folks listening on Twitter. Oh, by the way, thank you guys for all joining the show. There's a lot of you guys out there. Check out sportsethos.com. Check out the draft guide. Check out the fantasy pass. Check out all of the writers who are linked in the promo tweets. Follow all of them. This is the industry at its best, and get some great fantasy info in the process. We have, and actually, before I ask the Cade Cunningham question I'm about to ask you, I'm going to reset the board here, and then we're going to go to our pick, me and Rick. We got Drew Holiday going to Keston Paul. We got Cam Thomas going to Doc A. Got Zach Levine, and then D'Angelo Russell to Dan Titus. That's some great value there for Dan Titus. Now, Rick, where are we? What are we doing here?
I wanted Levine. That was a knife wound to the kidney area. We waited forever, but it is. So this is kind of the cluster I'm looking at here. Brew, you tell me. Kobe White, Tyler Hero, Austin Reeves, CJ McCollum, Jalen Green. Kobe White, Tyler Hero, Austin Reeves, CJ McCollum, Jalen Green.
Got it. I like. Well, I'm getting told by Doc A that Kobe White is gone. That's the one I liked. I'm gonna need those names again. Once the name got in my head, I was like, that's all we need.
Yeah. So Hero, Reeves, McCollum, Jalen Green.
I'll say this. Between the two, I like Reeves and Green. I probably like Reeves more than Green, but Green has that pop. And I really think that pop is going to show up, if not in Houston, somewhere else. I'll go either or with those two. Your pick, Rick.
No, you did it. We had like 5 seconds left, man. So that Jalen Green, baby.
Jalen Green.
I think it's a great pick.
Hey, you know what? I got a lot of folks that are asking me.
Hey, Doc. Hey, Doc. That was more of a Brew pick than a Cam pick. Okay, hey, Doc. With that, you're piping smoking.
Seriously, Doc A is just sitting there firing shots in the private chat. Word to your mother, says Doc. Word to your mother. Indeed. Word to the mother. All right. And then we got Jacob Dunn here on the turn. So as this comes back to me, Rick, we'll get back to you, Poppy, here in a quick second. We are looking at our pick now. We got our pick back on the turn. Jakob Poeltl goes. And so what are you thinking now that we got Green? We got a Green in hand. And we're going to have to take you up. There you go.
Brew, we got – so any thought of Walker Kessler here?
Yes. So he started the other day, and that kind of perked everybody's eyes up a little bit.
Because we're looking at for bigs right now, we're looking at Kessler, Porzingis, Gafford, Valanciunas, Draymond, Lively. Don't know if he's starting. Collins is a shutdown candidate. Naz Reid, I like, but he's limited. Clint Capella, I don't think would be a terrible pick here, although we could probably wait. So, we could go with. All right, we got about a minute left. We could go.
I like Kessler, and I can give the reasons why after. If you were leaning Kessler, I like Kessler, but
let's go Kessler. Let's go Kessler.
This is a Brew team, Doc. It's a Brew team. I'll quickly my 2 cents on Kessler is he took a lot of heat last year, and rightfully so. And Utah didn't exactly act like they wanted him, around, and he's been on the trade block. Maybe that actually gets him on the floor a little bit more this season. But his numbers were actually at least a decent progression of the season before's numbers. So it wasn't such a fall off that, we should be like, what happened to Walker Kessler? It just didn't happen at the third and the fourth round level that people were drafting him at. Okay, Poppy, I was going to ask you about Cade Cunningham, but I want to just sort of roll it all up into one question and say, what do you think of, if you want to talk on Cade, because I do think that a lot of people are asking about Cade, but just your team in general and this draft in general.
Yeah, so well, first and foremost, I targeted Maxi in the turn just to get that usage handcuff. And then Cade, I didn't plan, but I guess I needed points and I needed good free throws. So looking at our draft, it seems like it's just possibly Titus and Sloan that can rival me in free throws. So that's a good advantage for me. It's still getting good guard stats and big man stats. I had to get Darius Garland. I think people maybe hated him because of shooting bad last year, plus the injuries and all. And we all know when he's healthy and under Atkinson, I think he's a potential to get back again to at least around third roundish, fourth roundish. So I think this is a good value here. Brandon Miller, I have to get a forward, and I look at what I missed. I think those are scoring, possibly snipes, and hopefully he gets steals, as he's been boasting to be a two-way deep defender. But it's more of like also thinking that, hey, come playoffs, is there any upside in the other options during this round? And I thought that, hey, if knock on the wood, Lamelo goes down, then it's gonna be Brandon Miller season again. So I love that floor plus upside pick for Brandon Miller. And then lastly, well, I have to get a guy that I love, so I have to reach for Zubac. I was hoping Kessler comes back to me, but I think that was a good pick for you guys.
Oh, thank you very much. And I love that you love Zubac. That's a very niche fantasy thing to do. And now your pick is coming, and I won't have you say your thoughts as Keston's selecting right in front of you, because we know Keston will just go in there and snake that. But I look at your team. I think there's a lot of upside. Like, let's go Cade Cunningham, just real quick. So, like, Cade, what do you think? What do you expect? Is it going to be a bounce back year for Cade, or how do you feel? And then make your pick and tell us about your pick as we get you out the door here.
Yeah, so I like Cade's upside this year. I mean, come to think of it, this could be the best lineup he had for I don't know, since rookie season. Getting someone like Tobias Harris, and then another year of Duren and other guys. They got a lot of weird rotation players, both from in the front court and in the back court. So which includes veterans as well. So I just think that could actually end up playing well for Cade, especially his turnovers and then his field goal percentage. So we all know he can get stats. It's just a matter of like him being efficient. So I kind of like Cade's upside for this year. And then yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to step on you. Go ahead and tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to share my thoughts about Bogdan Bogdanovic. I just think Atlanta is a fantasy friendly team. I just have to get one. So since I also needed additional scoring punch, some snipes since I had several bigs already, and then hopefully a couple of steals as well. So I think Bogdan Bogdanovic really fits the bill, at least at this round.
Well, the interesting thing that I think about Bogey, and I covered him close up in Sacramento, is that he seems to get it that he needs to stay healthy, and that it's more important for him to stay lean and light and keep the weight off of those joints, especially his knee. And it worked like a charm last season, 79 games, I believe. And that was just an amazing value for him. He has a wide open ramp in Atlanta. You mentioned them being fantasy friendly. Quinn Snyder is a great coach, in my opinion, and he is going to have a really kind of easy to understand situation where everybody's got their role, everybody fits into their slot, and Bogey's slot is to produce. So the only thing stopping him is staying healthy, and he's talking in camp right now like a guy who gets that, and it just kind of feels like maybe he hit an age and a workout regimen that really complements where he's at in his career. So it could be another big year. The risk is there, obviously, but Poppy, good to have you on the show, and we're going to have you again here sometime soon. So we're going to go ahead and cut you loose. Anything you want to say before you take off here, sir?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the invite. It's my honor to be in the presence of three legends and, of course, other amazing analysts here. I just want to kind of like give a shout out to one of my initiative this year. I kind of like created a different format. It's a team head to head. I named it Warzone. It's Philippines versus the world. So I kind of like invited several analysts there. So the format there is it's head to head, still head to head, but this time you're not working on your own team. You'll be working with other teams, and then you'll be matched against the other team. So it's going to be fun, and then hopefully it's something that the whole community can consider moving forward.
Ooh, I love that idea. I would love to be a part of that if you ever get a slot that opens up. Poppy, great to have you on the show. You guys follow him. It's NBA Fantasy Poppy, Papi, on Twitter. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Poppy. Be well, and we'll talk with you here real soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Now, I believe I see somebody in the back. The greatness has arrived, I believe. Not quite sure. Oh, he's here. The great Dan Titus of Yahoo Fantasy Sports is in the house. You're going to have to defend your honor with that Tobias Harris pick. There's a certain somebody in the room here who's not a fan.
I was, because it allowed us to get our guy. Dan, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Good to see you, man.
You too. You too.
so-
Hey, let me tell you, Rick, I'm not a fan of Tobias Harris either. I'm a Philly guy, and it's Philly season, so that's why I'm repping it. But honestly, I was just like, it was the panic pick of my draft. There's always one time where I'm like, I don't know which way to go here. I got sniped, and yeah, that's how you end up with Tobias Harris. But I think he fits my team pretty well.
Well, I'll let Rick speak for himself, but I mean, like, Tobias Harris has been making a living off of doing that thing where he gets that, oops, I drafted Tobias Harris, and he's a top 40 guy, and wouldn't you know it?
Dan, the only that we were really excited to get Julius Randle, and we waited on him forever. Okay, so that's why I was like fist pumping when I saw Tobias Harris. Dan, I just worry about a shutdown, man, with a bad team, and he's a vet, and like, Detroit is going to play the young guys, but do they get to a point where they're like, with Tobias Harris, like, what's the point? It's March, we're 50 games under 500, and do they just shut him down? So I'm a little bit like, if the stats hold up for 75 games, I like the pick. But for the people listening here, how do you handle the bad teams, the Nets, the Wizards, the Pistons, and we got Cooper Flagg and the Blazers come to mind. Utah comes to mind. There's probably going to be a pretty hefty tank going on this year.
And let's get you off mute there, Dan. I think that mute button's had a mind of its own today. It's gotten me, it's gotten Rick, now it's gotten you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's I just actually wrote about this in my draft blueprint, but there's definitely tanking teams I'm avoiding. I didn't put Detroit Pistons on that list. Like, I think that they're not going to be particularly good. They do have a lot of development / veteran pieces that I don't know that I feel like all their moves in the offseason signal to me that they're going to try to compete. Now, I don't know that they're going to get to, 30, 35 wins, but I think they're going to look for improvement. It's time for Cade Cunningham to actually be in an environment where he can thrive. They just gave him the rookie extension, so he's going to be there for a while. When you bring in Tobias Harris, you bring in Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, they had to get some veteran leadership around the room. And I think, obviously Monty Williams did not work out. But I think bringing in JB Bickerstaff is going to give them a more defensive identity, which is going to be huge for them because they played like no defense last year. We'll see players like Asar Thompson kind of mature, get more real game experience. Tobias Harris is actually probably the safest Piston to select outside of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. And I would say he's probably has a safer floor than Jalen Duren because we don't know what version of him we're going to get. Can he get those stocks? Can he repeat the performance that he had last year from the line? Can he just lock in defensively? Because Isaiah Stewart now is going to be moving to that backup center role. We know what he can do when he can bang on the block. So I feel good about Tobias Harris actually and them not actually tanking, whereas like the Portland Trailblazers, they have no idea where they are in their rebuild here. And they're going to be selling off assets, much like the Washington Wizards. Definitely less interested in those teams than the Detroit Pistons.
A lot to digest there. I mean, Detroit, it feels like at some point in time that franchise needs to just stop losing because when you lose and lose and lose and lose, it really does have a crippling effect on your franchise. You can't just fall your way to the top. I'm going to do a quick board reset here because it's been a bit since we've done that. In the 7th round, I'll rattle some names off. OG Anunoby, Poole, Murphy, Kobe White, Jabari Smith, Ivica Zubac, Drew Holiday, Cam Thomas, Zach LaVine, D'Angelo Russell, Jalen Green, and then Vucevic. Actually, probably did read those names off. And then we had Pirtle. We went with Team Cam. I don't have a good mashed up nickname for us yet, Cam. You'll have to work on that for us. But we got Kessler. Jalen Suggs went after that. Kuminga, Scoot Henderson, Herbert Jones, Bogdanovich with Poppy on the way out the door, CJ McCollum, and then the screen went south on me. I believe it was Jonas Valanciunas after that. And then we get Austin Reeves, Brandon Ingram, Amen Thompson, and back on the turn, Mark Camaro takes Colin Sexton. Derek Lively went off the board, Kyle Kuzma, Kongwu, Gafford, Terry Rozier, and Chris Paul. And that brings us to current where Doc A is drafting. So, Dan, let's get back to you. So your squad here, I can't see the top of it on the screen right now, but it looks like you ended up with Brunson. Was that in round 3? Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah.
think I got some serious value slides here. Even LaMelo Ball, I know that he carries some injury risk, but getting him in the back of the second round, I thought was ideal, especially with Nikola Jokic. Really just helped me out with that assists build there, and getting Brunson the third was a steal. So, yeah, it just set me up for a really nice draft. And then getting Evan Mobley, he was one of my priority targets. So landing him in the 4th was great. And then we can worry about Tobias Harris later, but you know, everything else was like pretty solid for me.
The LaMelo Ball thing's really interesting because, you know, a couple of weeks ago, nobody'd seen much of anything, and nobody had definitely seen him play. So he gets on the court yesterday, and did you get a chance to watch it? Does it even matter? I mean, we all expected him to get back on the court. I think for me, just seeing him didn't change my perspective of him, but I was like, I bet this is going to rise. His ADP is going up after this. People are going to watch that. What did you think?
I mean, the one thing I thought was pretty noticeable was that he just looked so comfortable. And I think that the Charlotte Hornets team, like, you could put them in that tanking category, but I think the moves that they also made is indicative of them trying to change the culture. They have a new head coach. But for how aggressive he was offensively, I mean, this guy was lights out from 3, the way he was just getting into the lane. As long as LaMelo Ball is wearing ankle braces, I'm in. He takes them ankle braces off, I'm out.
That's a real easy cut and dry. Now, Rick, we got a pick. What's up with that? What are you thinking?
So to me, it's Marcus Smart or Tyler Hero, Brew. And I Smart is, I love the steals from Smart, 1.5 to 2 per game. He'll be around 2 threes per game. We'd be a little Memphis heavy at that point with Ja and JJJ as well. I don't personally care about that. I don't know if you do. And then Tyler Hero has just been out there with a light blinking on his name for a round or 2. And I know he's injury prone, but to me, those are the guys.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about stacking them on the same team. If anything, the usage comes back to you if one of them gets hurt. I want to just see Marcus Smart play in Memphis. I feel like we got robbed last season. Adding Marcus Smart to that team, holy moly, that's some attitude, that's some defense, that's some nastiness, and they're going to bring it back together. Let's get Marcus Smart.
Done. I love the fantasy gold.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to have Jacob Dunn on the turn here, and then it'll be back onto us. So where do you think our team needs at this point, Rick?
Not a lot. Just some health and a runway to win a championship that we won't win because we're not going to play this league out. But I think it's absolutely fantastic. The team that we're building, I think we're not like building a team that's going to be like small and really good at the small categories, right? We're building a team that's going to be good at everything. 3 balls, blocks, steals, the 3 most important categories. I think our PRA is going to be the best in this league. So I just think at this point, we just take value picks, Brew. And I'm looking at like a Tyler Hero. I think Clint Capella would be a pretty decent pick this next time. Draymond Green is out there. I don't hate him. I should complete that sentence in, this season with his triple single. Naz Reid, I think at this point of the draft is look at 2.2 threes per game, around 14 and 6. And I think there may be a little bit more upside here without Karl Anthony Towns. So, Jacob hasn't made a pick yet here, Brew, but I don't know. Are you thinking maybe Tyler Hero here? And we just go small and really kind of capitalize on that, or what?
It's a value any way you slice it with Tyler Hero at this stage of the draft. So I'm not mad at it. Probably fits our build real well with a lot of those popcorn stats. And we got a lot of action in the private chat. Doc's gonna just lose his mind if you name his guy here. So just want to throw that out there. We don't want anything bad to happen with Doc over there. Andre points out that maybe we can just run this league without moves and see who wins. I don't know. Because Noah Rubin of Roto World, he just like punctured the balloon, man. We're like, hey, we could play this out. Rick, you're just twisting the elbow. And he's just like flat out, no, I'm not going to do it.
I'm down. Why not? What's the worst thing that can happen? We already drafted. So
I look at it. I like your style, Dan. Dan, I like your style.
I was thinking about throwing a cash prize in there for like charity and then maybe a little something for everybody else, because I like our team, right?
So Bruce, stop stalling here, bro. Who we taking?
Oh yeah, we're up. Okay, I forgot all the names you told me. Give me the names.
All right, so a little Marcus Smart. No, pardon me, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero would be a decent pick right now. Draymond, Naz Reid, Tyus Jones, Clint Capella. And I'm gonna check.
How are we on
there.
bigs? We got Kessler. We got who else? We got Jaren Jackson.
Yep, we got. Could we use one more center? We could
Because if we
use another
need a
big
center, I'd say Nas. If we need a guard, I would say Tyler Hero.
Let's take Naz Reid.
Let's take Nas.
Let's take Naz Reid. I like that pick.
Nas Reid.
I like that pick. You
Doc, Doc, just hang in there, buddy. Hang in. Hey, I want no complaining out of you. You got Anthony.
I wonder if Naz Reid was his guy.
I think we're literally reading off of his list right now, and he's throwing things in his office. Totally was my guy, says Doc A.
Where do I go?
Now
here?
Dan's up. So as the clock's bearing down,
I like this.
What are you thinking as you're drafting here?
Is Dan going to take Tyler Hero after we talked him up and then didn't draft him?
Yeah, so I'm definitely light on some rebounds right now. Blocks are pretty much non-existent for me. I'm just wondering if I want to anchor my stocks a little bit. I've been looking at Alex Caruso quite a bit, and I don't know that he's going to start, but I feel like he's going to. And just what he possesses from a threes and stocks perspective just really helps me out, considering that I'm pretty much punting blocks there. He can at least give me a couple to compete against some other teams here. I don't want Chris Middleton because he's injury prone as hell. Dag, man. You got me, Rick, you got me thinking about Draymond Green too. I could definitely use his rebounds and assists. Oof. I think I got to go Draymond here.
While you're thinking about your pick, I want to just shout out the hundreds of listeners online and on Twitter and YouTube watching this, and welcome to Sports Ethos. If you haven't seen us, go to sportsethos.com. Check out all the good stuff. Check out all the fantasy analysts in this draft. The folks are linked in the promo tweets. Give them all a follow. And it looks like you took Tyler Hero.
Yeah, you said it best. You said it best, Aaron. It's just about the value at this point. 10th round. I'm glad to have Tyler Hero. We'll see how many games he plays. We'll see how he meshes with Terry Rozier for another year, full season and a full off season to kind of get back. But I don't know. The Miami Heat are a little bit strange for me because I feel like everything rides and dies with Jimmy Butler and how he's feeling. He says he's locked in now, but who really knows? And there goes Alex Caruso. Knew it.
Yeah.
Knew it.
I'm tempted to ask you. Well, I mean, Caruso. I mean, you got the kind of feels like you got the same read that I got on Caruso, is that he can actually get it done in limited minutes. Is that where you're?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm thinking he's probably going to play somewhere in that 26 to 28 minute range, and permanent basis, he'll be fine because that defense is just going to be so tough to get around between the Dortcher chamber. Chet's a great perimeter defender. They bring in Isaiah Hartenstein. Like their defense is just going to be so good.
Say, where do they rank in your league pass rankings?
Oh, they're up there. I'd say top 5 for sure. Because I mean,
it's crazy that they're not going to be on TV that much,
which is a shame. I think the NBA is going to regret that. They went all in on like Anthony Edwards, which makes sense, and especially after them making the big trade. But they're really trying to find that next face of the league. So not surprised that they chose some other teams over them.
Yeah, I haven't been as excited about a team in a while, and I was excited about the Knicks until the trade. That broke my heart with that trade. But this trade, or not this trade, this team, the Oklahoma City, I have not been as excited about a team in a long time because that defense, I mean, who can't defend on that team, really?
Right. I mean, guarding multiple positions, too. Like, it's just going to wreak havoc on any team that they play against. Now, we'll see how health kind of pans out, but they're just so deep, man, because Cason Wallace, he's probably not even going to play that much, but like that's a really solid emerging player. Isaiah Joe's knockdown. Like, dude, they just have so much.
Like you add Case and Wallace to that mix. Good luck. I hope they do that just for fun.
You know, right?
I want to see a game go 20-10 in the fourth quarter. Okay, let's reset the board here a little bit. Looks like at the beginning of the last full round, which was round 9, It went Sexton, it went Lively, it went Kyle Kuzma, Okongwu, Gafford, Rozier, Chris Paul. That's an interesting pick that probably warrants some treatment. Keontae George went off the board. Asar went off the board. Vassell went off the board. And then we took Smart, Avdia, my God. Pajemski. There's two tough names in a row. Reed, we took Reed. You took Hero. And we got Caruso, Tyus Jones. And now that looks to be
Dyson Daniels.
Oh, Dyson Daniels. And then after that, Clint Capella off the board.
Where do you guys stand with the Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu situation? Because Okongwu's on Yahoo, Okongwu has a higher ADP, and that tracks for the same for our draft right here. How do you feel like that timeshare is going to shape out?
Let's go with you, Rick. What do you think?
I don't agree with it. I would take Clint Capella over Okongwu, not in a dynasty league, but in a redraft league. I thought Okongwu, was he like significantly overdrafted? No. He was drafted at 9-4, 1 round ahead of Capella. So I'm not like, it's not like egregious or anything, but Clint Capella is the known. Okay. He's going to give you 11, 12 points, right around 10 boards, and last year 1.5 blocks. I don't think the 2-block Clint Capella is there anymore, in large part because the minute share with Okongwu. But who is the starter? I think it's still Capella. And here's the thing, guys. Capella enters the last year of his deal. The Hawks need to showcase him to trade him. And then if he gets traded, does he get traded to a team that will now look at Clint Capella as a 30-minute per game center? Okay. So I'm a Clint Capella guy, have been for a long time. And I see Okongwu. I see him. He's coming. Okay. I just don't think he's there quite yet for me to draft him over Capella, because I think Capella's got non-Hawks upside that via trade that a lot of people aren't taking into account here.
The other thing is that it's interesting that New York got Karl Anthony Towns that takes one location off the board. So I don't know how that shakes things up. I think the whole calculus that you just laid out, Rick, that completely makes sense to me. It
How
feels
about
like
New Orleans, Brew? Like New Orleans badly needs a true big, right? They make trades all the time. They already traded for DeJounte. How about Capella on the? How about Capella on the Pels?
Atlanta's got space for somebody like Brandon Ingram offensively, so that
Just
is,
saying.
That's a good point. Yeah,
it is interesting. I've also thought
Just
Miami
saying.
for Brandon Ingram, in some ways, but
Good
yeah,
call.
just where does Brandon Ingram go? Is kind of now that Randall's figured out. That's like the
Right.
big question.
It's like
kind of
him and
floating
Zach
around the league.
Levine, right? It's like, are they gonna, or even Vucevic too? You know, I think there's a lot of these vets that just they have underwhelming contracts that are just making it increasingly difficult in this second apron landscape. But yeah, we'll see how this shakes out. But I do like the landing spot for Brandon Ingram in Atlanta or Miami. I think that would make a lot of sense.
This Okongwu and Capella discussion is very much a draft strategy question, because like on one hand, you have the known asset in Capella. He projects probably to do more than Okongwu, but this what if factor with Okongwu, if Capella gets moved and Okongwu can be the guy he's been maybe like say 2 months out of his entire career, where he gets blocks, he gets steals, he does it like the dribble handoff assists, and he's active on offense. 2 months, I think, total. We've seen that from Okongwu, and it's like, okay, we got to get that. He's great, you know? And then the rest of the time, he's just sitting in the background. He's not getting those stats. He's barely hanging on. He's just plodding his way to value. So I think there's a little bit of an upside versus known commodity thing going on here, where everybody kind of wants the upside. And Capella might end up being the better pick. So that's kind of a good segue into draft strategy. We haven't gotten your thoughts on that, Dan. What do you do when you're approaching a 9-cat head-to-head draft? And for folks who maybe haven't played as much out there, what would you give them in terms of advice for overall draft strategy?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to get caught up, especially depending on what fantasy analysis you're reading, on all the different strategies to try to build the best team that you can. I recommend just trying to go for balance. Don't overcomplicate it, trying to punt various different categories. You can overfit your team very easily, and you kind of pigeonhole yourself when you're punting into a specific build, and you exclude yourself from getting certain players. And I think you just got to be flexible and pivot depending on how your draft is going. If you're playing in a random league, You just let the value fall to you, build the best team you can out off your core, 5 players in the first 5 rounds, and then kind of take your shots where you can. But if you're playing with league mates that you're familiar with, you kind of have an idea of what their tendencies are, what types of positions they favor at certain points. So use that to your advantage. I love drafting because it's just a psychological warfare. And yeah, I would say if you go into it with balance in mind, you can't really go wrong here. And you really win your draft, far after round 5. It's like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, where you get those value picks that, could exceed or outperform their ADP.
Let's take this back to Rick. 'Cause Rick, I think you might see it the other way, but I'm not sure. You can speak for yourself on this. How do you feel about approaching a draft? Are you trying to go in and hunt your way to victory? Are you trying to harness guys that get in certain stat categories? Do you have a preference that way, or do you play it out? What do you do?
It's all about fantasy gold, Brew. It's all about the threes, the blocks, the steals, man, and PRA. But PRA is even secondary because those are more common statistics. Points, rebounds, and assists are very important, but they're common. And you've got to have more of them than your opponent. But I'm more focused on being large in the 3 category, the block category, the steal category. I'm obsessed by it. I'm not a guy that punts categories. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in, okay, I'm just not going to be a shot blocker. I don't believe in that. Or I'm just not going to steal the rock, or I'm just going to be light in threes, taking, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, a Brandon Ingram, a Franz Wagner, light on threes guys. I'm trying to be good all over the place. I'm trying to crush these dudes 9-zip with you, Brew. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I ain't trying to win 5-4 around here. We're
Exactly.
trying to
I love it.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Look, I've
trying to
thought
9-0
for
these
years
jokers.
because I'm a balanced guy. Because you hit it right, Dan. It's like, so on one hand, you carve out a player universe that's great for your build. Okay, cool. Right. What happens if 2 of you are doing it? Like all of a sudden.
And what happens if you get an injury? And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, how are you going to compensate for that? You can't just find things on the wire like that. You can find threes, you can find, some stocks here and there, but it's all temporary. So yeah.
I'm so glad to find some balance, people, because I feel like in head to head, it's all punting all the time.
People are thinking too hard, just get back to simplicity. Find the good players that that kind of fit how you analyze basketball, what you enjoy to watch, and then just that kind of fit your scheme and your strategy. I think it's much easier than people think. Ooh,
yeah,
Rob Billingham off the books.
Wow. Okay, all right. Let's do a little reset here. So after Capella, we had John Collins, we had D'Angelo, or pardon me, nope. Who is that? That's RJ Barrett, Trace Jackson Davis, D'Anthony Melton, Josh Hart, my man Dante DiVincenzo, Taylor Hendricks. We got Jaime Jaquez, Kristaps off the board, Conley, Soar comes off the board. That looks like 11.7 or something. Draymond Green finally selected Zach Edey, fresh off of doing the Dougie, and then Dillingham. And now you're up, Titus. What do you think?
Someone in the chat was like, this Chris Middleton slide is egregious.
Did it get you going? Shout out Tony Lamb. Middleton's still available. Is comical.
He's not wrong. It's just, does this guy have any ankles left? Like,
them giving him the money. Talk about a decision there.
Yikes.
Because he's washed. That makes you really want to draft him, right?
He looks washed, man. Like, but I mean, do I take one washed guy over another?
It's,
Horford intrigues me, but I'm like,
every year there's old dudes though that they do pan out, and it's funny because you have a hard time betting on them.
This dude's cooked, but I can't ignore the
value. Wow! Look at the crowd getting into your head.
He's so
he's cooked. You know what? Here's the thing. At this selection, what are we at? 11 and 11. So we're at roughly 120 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my Mason Dixon line here. Is like, I think I don't project him to finish there. Like I think I got him at like 150 or 180 or something, but that's only a projection. Like the thing is if he's somewhat good, he could be top 75. And
yeah, I think I have him 96, 97 in my latest rankings. But again, yeah, usually you want to reserve these late round picks for your high upside guys. He does not fit that standard, but I think he could at least outperform where I got him in this draft.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't have any problem with that pick at all. It's just funny when you have to make that pick, you just feel so bad.
It feels gross.
Hey,
like,
hey
okay.
Brew, we got a minute left here, bro.
Okay. What do we got?
So I think we need SGSF. We've only got Jalen Green and Mikal Bridges. We've got Mikal Bridges, Paula Banchero. So I think we got to attack SGSF right now. I give you Klay Thompson. I give you Norman Powell. I give you Keldon Johnson. Which way are we going here?
Man. Okay. You know what? We got Luka. That guy's going to make 1 million hook passes to Klay in the corner for 3, and he's going to be shooting layup threes all season long. I'm not like over my skis on Klay Thompson at all, but I do think he's got a lot of chip on that shoulder. Give me Klay Thompson.
Let's go, Brew. Let's go, Brew.
I like Klay bounce back season.
Let's go, Brew. I love it.
I hope they do the postseason or post-game interviews with Klay in Dallas. I hope they got that.
Get those paper airplanes ready.
Oh, yeah. That's some fun stuff. A 45-minute post-game Klay interview is the best. I want more. Okay, so we got the turn with Jacob Dunn. He's going to take P.J. Washington at a great postseason. And then Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant. Am I reading that right? Yes, I am. Jeremy Grant.
Yep. So, Brew, I think once again here we go SGSF, and then we'll have a 4-pack at each of those positions, a 4-pack at point guard. We'll have 5 power forward eligibles, and we'll have 3 center eligibles. So, then the last, the last pick, maybe we take a center or something. And so Norman Powell, Keldon Johnson, Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, who I'm reluctant to bring up. I'm not a Wiggins guy. But to me, Norman Powell and Keldon Johnson either of those guys would look good in our uniform.
I think Norm's a safe play. I think he's going to get minutes, touches. It's going to equal late round value. Keldon is interesting for our build. The injury ahead of him with Devin Vassell is interesting. How much time we got?
We have like 45. We got a minute.
Oh. Well, let's just chop it up. No,
we got elbow room, dude.
Yeah, let's just breathe into this thing. I'm not a huge Keldon guy. I'll just say that.
Let me also throw out Bobby Portis, Aaron Gordon. Let me just throw those guys out here.
Big fan of Bobby P under Doc Rivers. He's like 7th round value ever since Doc came out.
Says the guy drafting right behind us.
Let's take Portis and get that last center. You cool with that, Brew?
I'm good with that, but I'm very curious what Dan Titus is doing right now.
Because there's guards out there. Let's take Portis, and then we got our last center. Okay. So
honestly, I was just hoping you didn't go Al Horford because I needed a center and I need someone to just give me some carryover until Kristaps Porzingis is ready to go. So yeah, I'm okay with old man Al.
Oh yeah, everybody loves old man Al in this league that we don't know the daily, weekly settings on. I love old man Al. It's a daily league, and we're not doing any moves. Or how does that go? I don't know. Al Horford's gonna he'll in the grave. He'll be putting up top 100 value. That is an excellent.
He'll have those random games where he'll have like few stocks and some threes. Like he's all right for 12th round. I'm not mad at it for a couple months worth of production.
He's that dude. And lots of love for Al Horford around here. It looks like Clam Johnson went off the board. And Doc A. I know that one hurt you. You got Grayson Allen, who's playing linebacker for the Phoenix Suns, apparently. And we got...
Dude, he is so swole. What happened? If you look at him and then you look at like Keldon Johnson, who lost like what seems like 40 pounds.
That was a crazy picture the other day of him at the football game with Vassell.
Right.
I was like, who is that cornerback? Like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, oh, that's Keldon. Oh, wow.
Cannot tell at all.
That's good for him, though.
Yeah. We'll see if he gets burned. I don't know. Seems to be trending.
Well, the Vassell thing is unfortunate. Like, it's just not great. And it's going to open up minutes for a bunch of players. So, good for him. Looks like Gary Trent went off the board. Poppy's up with his pick. And we're getting into round 12. How many rounds we got in this bad boy?
We got one
13.
more.
We got one more after this. Okay. So 13 rounds. So we'll be ending up here pretty soon as I completely lose track of time, as I do hanging out with you gentlemen, drafting fantasy football leagues in front of hundreds of people, or fantasy basketball in front of hundreds of people. I could do that. 400 of you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. It's been great having you guys. Thank you guys for all the support, all the kind emails you guys have been sending. We love you. Don't love you, Poppy, because you're going to take a player we want. Matt Straub after that. Sloan Paiva? Sloan, you need to message me and tell me how to say your last name. I'm so embarrassed about that. Dan, what about like this team that you've drafted here? Like, how do you feel just in general? I mean, you get Jokic at 3, LaMelo at 2. How much money would you put on this team if you played this?
I think I'm easily a playoff contender. I do think I'm a bit light in terms of like centers. Like if anyone were to go down, I'd probably be scrambling, but wasn't intending to get Jokic at 3. So to be able to build a squad around him, pretty much so versatile that, you know, you cover a lot of bases. So the fact I was able to really lean into the threes, the steals, the assists, as Rick was pointing out in the second and third rounds, I was, you know, super hyped about that. Skip over Tobias Harris. He's whatever. He's fine. I like getting Miles Bridges where I got him. And then I think I really got some good value on Jalen Suggs, Devin Vassell, and Tyler Hero, and even Chris Middleton. We'll see how he pans out. I'm not banking on anything much, but I think I have a pretty well-balanced team. Clearly ended up being a punt block type of build, but I think I'm actually pretty competitive in most categories based on the players that I went for. So I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, the D'Angelo Russell pick is kind of staring at me, and I'm thinking he's going to probably have another season where he sort of defies expectations after so many people overdrafted him for however many years, and then he's just been on a little mini tear the last couple seasons, and they need him to play well in Los Angeles. So and it's funny, it's a little bit of a you know, half a dozen one way, half a dozen other. Actually, forgetting the reference here. Catch 22. Hey, I got it in me. If he plays well, they want to keep him, right? If he plays well, they can trade him. He needs to play well, and that's great for fantasy GMs. So,
I think the way that JJ Redick looks, you know, in terms of their schemes, everyone looks a little bit more motivated than they did last year playing under Darvin Ham. We'll see how long that really goes when we get to actual real life basketball. But yeah, I think that the Los Angeles Lakers were a team that I usually, you know, over the last few years I've kind of avoided, just haven't really been interested too much just because there's so much injury risk and, you know, the age. But yeah, I'm kind of buying into this whole JJ Redick experience here. It seems to be quite a different change in culture and attitude with a lot of the players, at least at the early onset.
He certainly looks like Redick, that is, looks like he's working hard. He looks like he's communicating well with the media, which obviously he's got his experience there, but even just beyond that, when he's communicating, he's just giving you so much in an interview, and you can tell he's living it, he's breathing it, and he's humble about it. That's probably the most important thing, because he's going to get humbled one way or another doing this underneath LeBron and company.
Only like the hardest job in sports, man. You're on the hot seat at every beckoning moment.
At least Jeannie's kind of chill. You know, Jeannie Buss, the governor of the Los Angeles Lakers, she's kind of chill. So at least they got that going for them.
It's true.
All right. You want to stick around for this final round, Dan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So we got, and on our board, just to sort of reset, it looks like Aaron Gordon went after Gary Trent, and then Zachary Risache, and then Malik Monk. I'm going to ask you a question about this kind of group of players here, Dan, here in a second. Then you get Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, you get Tari Eason, Clowney, looks like Grady Dick. What about this group of players? Anything stand out? Are you, as you get into your final pick here, do you got a guy that you're targeting?
I do like that Noah Clowney pick, with news that Day'Ron Sharp is going to be missing some time. We could actually see the Noah Clowney experience a little bit earlier than anticipated. Another tanking team that obviously wants to give valuable minutes to their younger players. So he's someone that intrigues me. He's kind of like a Gigi Jackson, can stretch the floor, very athletic, can run the floor. So I'm kind of excited about Clowney. I wouldn't mind spending a late round pick on him. Don't know how I feel about Grady Dick yet, but I think he's going to be starting at the 2. So anytime you're getting a starter in the last round and his capability of shooting threes, I think it's a decent pick. I'm eyeing, well, we'll see. I don't know if I should announce my guy yet. I don't know what sharks are in the water
1, 2, 3,
here.
4, 5, 6, 7 picks to go. Interesting about Grady Dick is like, I don't think he had a block last year. He had like 1 block.
Yeah,
Like,
he's not someone that you're looking to for defensive accolades or specialties there. Won't do much there, but he looked like he finally found his groove, towards the end of the season, and became a nice catch and shoot guy that also can attack the rim. So I don't know. I'm curious about Grady Dick. I'm not going to reach for him by any means, but I think it's worth a late round flyer based on your build. Keon Ellis, though, very, very curious about your thoughts there, because I know he's going to be starting, and we know what he can bring from a 3-and-D perspective.
Yeah, a lot of players, great player. Love Keon Ellis. A lot of players in SAC. Keegan Murray's another guy that I love. That it's just a numbers game thing there. My thoughts on Grady Dick, real quick, is they have a need for shooting there. Like, it feels like RJ Barrett kind of fits. Scotty Barnes is the man. Quickly is going to be perfect for them. I think Grady Dick is going to be so necessary on the floor there. I don't know if he can pull it together with all the different stats he needs to be a good fantasy play, but they're definitely going to need to fire away.
Yeah.
He's going to need to fire away there. So yeah, a lot of, we're looking for late round upside here, late in drafts. Shaden Sharp just went. That's interesting with the injury. That injury in Portland, what do you think that does for things? I mean, they went from being a little bit crowded to now not so crowded, and you got some guys that are pretty interesting there, like Denny Abdia.
That's exactly the guy I was pointing to. I think, the fact that they even traded for him, very favorable contract. I think that just gives him way more leeway in this offense, and he can already create. He showed his facilitation abilities in Washington. I feel really good about picking Denny Avdia as a late round pick. I think he's a stat stuffer. And now he doesn't have to compete with Shaden Sharp. He can probably play some 4, some 3 whenever, Jeremy Grant is off the floor. I just wish they could just get it over with and just get Jeremy Grant off the team. Like, come on, it doesn't fit.
Jeremy Grant has done this role for like 5 years, it feels like. Literally.
Dude, they signed him for such an insane amount of money. Like, why?
I don't know. Bilal Coulibaly. Rick, let's bring you in. We haven't brought you in a second here. So Bilal Coulibaly, there was a report from Josh Robbins out of The Athletic that he just looked like leaps and bounds better. Are you hearing anything over there? And what do you think about Bilal?
I want to know what his stat line looks like, right? Like, is he going to be a 3-and-D guy? Is he going to be a 1.7 steal guy with those long arms and the defensive instincts? We don't even know who this guy is as a player. Like, Brew, like, I would love to know your projections. From the Brewski 150 on Bilal Coulibaly. I mean, I really like the pick here, especially if positionally you need that. I'm intrigued, dude. I'm intrigued. He's a talent, highly picked. They have to play him. I think he might even survive a shutdown, right? Kuzma ain't surviving a shutdown. Poole's not going to survive a shutdown, but Bilal Coulibaly might survive a shutdown. He might be able to finish out the year on just an ass-rotten team.
Yeah, I mean, you're a part of the crew, so I can get you the B150 nice and free. But, folks, if you want to get it, you can sign up for the All Sport Fantasy Pass, and you could get those projections. And I'll say this about Bilal. I put a projection together for him that I thought was super safe. It was just super safe. And I'm ready to go more because I think I'm seeing some of the light there. And it's, again, this is the Washington factor here. It's like, can you lose with Bilal on the court? Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I think you can, and you want to.
Dan, were you ticked off about Ben Simmons going a minute ago?
Honestly, I was ticked off that he got drafted at all. I don't want to. We keep on coming back every year, like, oh, cool, here's another highlight reel. He's shooting in an empty gym. Like, no, don't do it, people. Just stop. Just leave him on waivers.
That was Keston who did it, and Doc did not. Doc famously shot free throws blindfolded, and NBC did a hit on it. And
dude, Dude.
He shot him
True.
blindfolded. And he made
True.
like 29%, I believe, was the number.
I got way more confidence in that than Ben Simmons lasting through a quarter of the season.
Me
Well,
too.
and then you grab Jonathan Isaac with your last pick here. And that's actually great, right? Like, I mean, maybe it'll happen.
Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But either way, I needed some stock. So that's what that guy does. Per minute basis, not expecting him to play more than 20 minutes a night, but he's healthy and they gave him a new contract. It's a very, team-centric contract. So I think he's going to have a pretty good season. I think the Orlando Magic are an actual real playoff contender here. And I love what they did in the offseason. So I think it's actually pretty low risk taking Jonathan Isaac with the last pick, just considering what he's done in the years past when he's been healthy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, what we got, Rick? It was our last pick. What are we going to do with it?
Look, when we took Portis a minute ago, I was kind of like, it was smart because to me, he was the last like good center. There hasn't been a center taken since. So I thought that was a smart pick. We got to go SGSF here. We're still a little bit light in that area. And to me, we mentioned Norman Powell. We passed on him. It's come all the way back. Keldon Johnson is still out there as well. So to me, it's either of those guys, and I have a lean towards Norm.
Yeah, Norm's great. Norm's gonna just do Norm stuff, and
he's gonna be 20 points a game this year. Do you guys agree with me on that?
I would say yes. I gotta go check the projections.
20, I think 19 is fair. I think it all hinges on how much he's going to be playing, because I mean Kawhi is going to miss a quarter of the season, so that's when he's going to really ramp up. And I don't know that James Harden's going to really be mid 20s. He's probably going to be in the lower 20s because his scoring's been dropping year over year since like 2016. So I think he's going to be close to it. They
need his points. They need his points. I don't have the projections in front of me right now. I'm curious. I want to go check them out. And
I'm more with Dan. Like if I did it'd be like 19, 3, and 2 with a steal, probably 2.5 threes. 20 was kind of this number off the top of my head. I think Dan nailed it because you look at Norman Powell. He's averaged 19 before. A lot of 15, 16, 17. But I think on this, and he should start. He put it out there that he wants to start. Brew, I know you're feeling him too. I'm feeling Norman Powell. Maybe even where we took Klay Thompson in the 11th round. I'm super feeling Norman Powell with the second to last pick in this draft.
Yeah, I love it. It's safe. I mean, I like to swing for the fences a little bit bigger on a last pick like that, but that's just printing money right there. At that,
he could be sixth man of the year. I mean, if he comes off the bench, but I do. I mean, the starting role, yeah, you're definitely looking close to that 20.
The beautiful thing about the Clippers is they don't got their pick. So all these guys want to play. They probably want to build their value. They got no reason not to do it. So I'm good with that. Jacob Dunn is going to finish us up here. He's got 30 seconds left on the clock. Let's go ahead and send you out of here, Dan. Thank you, sir, for coming on by. I know you're going to be back for the Invitational in a couple of weeks or whenever that's going to go down. I got to look at our calendar here. I don't know what day it is. Do you know what day it is? What's the day? It's like,
man, I'm losing all kinds of track of time. Just point me to whenever that October 22nd is so we can get this thing on
a
road.
There you
It's
go.
a big blur. You guys can follow him at Dan Titus on Twitter. All that great work at Yahoo, doing all sorts of different fun stuff with them. So definitely check him out. And we will see you in a couple of weeks, sir, or whenever.
No doubt, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dan.
Last pick is in. It looks like it's Buddy Hield. He of 47-year-old Buddy Hield. Everybody. No, I love Buddy Hield, and he's a great dude. Rick, what are your thoughts as we're going to get out of here?
All right, so let's get off of how sexy our team is here. Like that's, I think, been very well established here throughout.
How can we see how sexy our team is when the great Doc A is on? He's graced our presence. He's on the show, Mr.
Doc.
Sexy.
Hello.
He's bringing sexy back. What's up, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just never better.
It's good to see you, sir. You're definitely playing through pain over there.
Good to be here.
Yes, sir. So what did you think of your draft?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't really like it.
No?
Dude, I cannot. I sound like a circus clown.
But a happy one.
Okay. I had surgery. They got into my vocal cords. This is what it is for now. I cannot stress enough how important it is to pay attention to the way that ESPN, Yahoo, Fantrax, CBS, whoever, the way they have their players ranked. Because Fantrax, shockingly, their rankings are not that far off of what's in my head. So every time, like where a guy is showing up, like Rick was reading off, here's the next 7 guys. I mean, that's important because in Fantrax, those next 7 are different than what is in ESPN. So it's very important that you know what you're getting into before you go in. So study all those different rankings, figure out who you want and where you want them, because depending on what website you're using, you're going to have completely different drafts.
And you don't like your team, though. I think your team's great.
It's all right.
I think your team's really good.
We made fun of Dan for taking Tobias Harris. I kind of had the same issue 2 picks earlier with Franz Wagner. I'm like, I could use 3s. He played well in the Olympics. What could go wrong? I just didn't love that pick. I thought I could get Hartenstein later. The way that was going, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Your boy Keston picked off Chris Paul right in front of me. I think Chris Paul, I've been preaching that you can get assists late. And you can, but once that run starts late, they all go.
Yeah. Chris Paul, Terry Rozier, right next to each other in draft.
Keontae George.
Yeah. That's it's an interesting point because that's not very common that you can get assists like that late in drafts. And you can avoid the run early on, which, it's got its pros and its cons. But this board, I don't know, Rick, I got some general thoughts on this board, but what do you think about this board, Rick?
So I think everybody did a really good draft. There were a couple of picks that I was kind of like, huh? But they were later, and that's okay. I'm looking here. I think Mark Williams in the 6th round is a total mystery to me. I would have never made that pick. And I don't want to mention the person that named it, right? And slam anybody here. Mark Williams in the 6th round to me it's not even close. But Brew, when we've talked about this, and Doc, we've talked about this through the preseason here, that in the offseason as well, it's very important to get forwards and bigs early. It's super important because think about the smalls that we got, Brew, because we kind of, we went Luka, then we went Morant, and then we, I think, both were kind of like, we got to get the bigs in here. So then we go JJJ, then we go Paulo, then we go Randall, then we get Mikal Bridges, who's not a big, but he's power forward eligible, right? So that's important. And then you're getting Jalen Green in the 7th round. We're getting Marcus Smart in the 9th round. We're getting Clay, who's going to average 3.5 threes per game, pop right around 20 points, 11th round. We get Norman Powell, 19 points, 2.5 threes in the second to last pick of the draft here. So I think the point that really needs to be drilled home, and I loved what Doc said about you can find assists late. Marcus Smart is going to be at least 5 assists per game. We got him in the 9th round. I was going to bring up Chris Paul to you, Brew, for that pick. He was taken by Keston, so we couldn't go there. Tyus Jones, 10th round. I think that's a great pick. Mike Conley, he's going to be right at 6 assists per game, right at about 11 points, 2 threes, 1 steal. Great pick in the 11th round. And I'm not saying don't go get these categories early, but what I'm saying is if you're going like at the top of the draft, guard, you're screwed, okay? If you want to go guard, big, or if you want to go big, guard, big, but you in the first 5 rounds of your draft, you have to have at least 2 bigs, at least. And I would actually recommend more to be on the 3 side, and that's small forward, power forward, center, guys that are eligible at those spots. And then with a couple of nasty do-it-all guards as well. But in your top 5 picks, you've got to have 3 guys that play front court positions as I view it.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting in the shows that we've done prior to this show with the scarcity of the point guard position, and then we get into the shooting guard and the small forward position, and there are pockets where you just do not want to be. There's some islands of value and cool if you get those guys, but like there's just a desert of players that you don't want, and then you can get those guys late. So everything you're saying dovetails into that strategy where big go small small. But I personally have always faded the littles early in drafts because there's just a rush to get those guys constantly, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's definitely a game of scarcity, and it's a game of knowing where guys are going to be taken. The other thing I take from this draft, I don't know if it's a function of NBA players just getting better, but in the 7th and 8th rounds, I'm just seeing players that I love. And I'm just laughing. I'm like, well, we guess we need to expand because as a league, because there's just so many good basketball players in the league, and lots of value on the board, lots and lots of value on the board. So I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to get into my own drafts in the coming weeks, get all fired up. I'm fired up about the Cam dynasty. Thank you very much, Rick. I'm very excited to tank my team to victory. And Doc, I need you to send me all of your assets for Luka. That would be great. If you could just hit the button, just send those assets over, a couple first rounders, all your good young players. And I'd be happy to give you Luka. But no, honestly, this has been a great experience. I'm so thankful. I mean, we just had a ton of people show up and watch this live. We had a ton of great analysts. I'm going to shout them out one by one. We got Jacob Dunn of SportsEthos. You can find him at Ain't Done Yet, DUNNE. Ain't Done Yet. You got Dan Titus of Yahoo at Dan Titus. Ryan Knaus, I guess what we call him, was retired. He's industry great. Ryan Knaus. Thank you very much, Ryan. Keston Paul of SportsEthos. You can follow him at Keston Paul, Keston Paul. You got Poppy Roy at NBA Fantasy Poppy, PAPI. Matt Stroup at Matt STROUP. Also, I guess just sort of in limbo, Matt Stroup. Call us at Sloan Piva. So you could send whatever bad messages you want to me. I've butchered your name all day long. You can find him at the Sporting News doing great work over there. Dan Palio at Thunder Dan DFS. Find him over at Rotoball. Noah Rubin of Roto World. Noah Rubin, RUBIN 22, and Mark Camaro of SportsEthos. Mac Attack 145. Any final thoughts, fellas, before we kill this thing?
I think we should play it out. I really do. We've got 12 of the greatest minds in the industry. Well, 13 with our merged team here, Brew. So it is what it is. I would like to play this team out and see what's up. But that's kind of my thought on this. But I thought everybody did a great job. I thought a lot of the stuff that we have talked about, Brew and Doc, in the leading up to this is played out here in this draft, and these are the best minds in the business. So I think everybody did a really good job.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to twist some arms in the background to see if we can get these guys to play it out. I don't know if we're going to have to go no moves. Maybe we'll do a little something for charity. Maybe I'll throw a little cash prize into the mix. Who knows?
I feel like every time I do one of these, when it's over, I'm like, well, I put a lot of time and thought into that. I'd like to play this out. So
and then nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. But we're gonna try.
Sometimes I do.
I think everybody drafted well enough that this deserves to be played out. Some of these mock drafts, they're just all over the place. Nobody cares. You get a couple auto drafters, and it doesn't really matter. I think we'll try to make this happen. And then, folks, just looking forward, we will have a SportsEthos Invitational. We'll probably do something similar as we did here today. Other than that, around the website, all sport fantasy pass holders have access to the Brew 150. Rick's column is out, I believe. Is your column out, Rick?
Yes.
No.
Pop play.
Yes. No.
I believe it is. Oh, Andre's saying no. Okay, I'm wrong about that.
We haven't released that one yet. Doc's guys, my guys, I believe. Is it out? I don't know. I don't know what day it is. Apparently, October 15. Today's the 7th. Oh my God. October 10th.
Mine comes out. My guys is October 10th, and Rick's Pops is October 15th.
Let's go.
Okay. All right. Well, those are the dates. Those are out. Get an all sports subscription. You can have access to the Brewski 150, the entire draft guide, player profiles from Mike Passador, those things alone will win you an entire league or make you an NBA broadcaster. Who knows? There's so much detail in all of these things. They're practically a media guide written by the team. Check those out. We have projections. We've got tools. The in-season tools are really like Vegas grade. If you want to bet over and under based on the projections from the B150, go make a ton of money. It's a part of the wager pass. Go check it out. So there's a lot going on here at sportsethos.com. Again, thank you guys so much for your support, for all of your kind words throughout the last couple of weeks, the emails we get through the support channels, and just in general, you guys are just great. You're powering this engine more than you know. Thank you guys. That's going to do it for us. This has been Fantasy NBA Today Mock Draft Edition, I guess presented by Bet Online. They present everything else around here. And we'll see you guys soon.